Bonus point if you can name every new item on the shelf.
No, this is the wrong
Come on,
person.
you can do that.
I can't remember last week, let alone my childhood. Hulk Hogan, The Undertaker.
You are getting old,
Is that British Bulldog? Don't bring that up. Don't bring that up on camera. Don't bring the latest debacle up on camera.
I'm hitting the mic, sorry.
Legion of Doom. That's British Bulldog on the end, right?
That's British Bulldog. Remember his real name? Or his actual stage name? Was it stage name? Real name?
No.
Davey Boy Smith.
And you told me that last week. That's how bad my memory is. We had this conversation last week.
Well, I'm here to test you to
And
keep
you've got hit in the head a lot more than
keep
me.
your grey matter. That's saying something, isn't it?
Yeah. 18 van.
18 van. Good call.
I don't know.
I feel like this mic's a long way away this time around.
Well,
That's in a different position. Has everything moved? Let me get a situation.
a few bits. Yoga Frog's still here.
Of course. Can't move Yoga Frog. Got a lot of comments on the bottle, which
Yeah.
means that we've got to get them up before this podcast goes live. So by the time this podcast goes live, you'll be able to buy one of these.
We'll get them up. We'll get them up as soon as possible.
I put it in the foreground of the war room. They've literally just landed. That's why they're not on the site.
Yeah, they will be up at www.fullreptile.co.uk. They will be up. Right. How are you?
I'm all good. Do we need to talk about my beautiful
We do need to talk about these lovely garments. Oh. It's been doing that a bit.
I don't know what's going on. I'm not sure. Maybe it's all the toys around it. Maybe something's like radioactive or magnetic.
TV's feeling nostalgic.
Why is this feeling so far away today?
I don't know, but the setup is slightly different.
Okay.
You set it up. Yes, Merino, Unbound Merino are back on board. We love Unbound, don't we?
We do.
We do. They have
I've got shorts this time around.
Great gear, lovely.
Fortunately, I did my squats today, so I'm going to...
You got them on?
No.
Got them on.
It's a bit too cold in here, isn't it? You keep talking about how cold it is.
It's like Dracula's lair in here. Horrific. Always cold.
Everyone always says that. I'm often too warm in this house.
Yeah, I don't know.
My gaff.
Anyway, Unbound Merino are back on board. They're sponsoring us again. They have a beautiful collection of clothing, don't they? Hoodies, sweats, t-shirts, shorts, socks, pants, all kinds of stuff. If you would like 20% off, then use the code OUTLAW.
Are you sure?
You
sure it's not full reptile?
Definitely Outlaw. I've just checked it. Use the code OUTLAW and you will get 20% off your purchases. Big shout out to Unbound. We love them. They're very, very cool gear. Very cool.
Very nice stuff.
We're also supported by X-Brain. Again, we've been working quite closely with them. So they're basically supporting our pro team up at Hardy Warlord MMA. And we are using their... I've been using that. It's super high strength. Super high strength. Anyway, we've been using their whey protein and their casein protein as part of our post-workout recoveries up at the gym. And it's great stuff. They have a wide selection of supplements, and of course they have all of the Onnit products. So anyone here in the UK, you can always save yourself some shipping and some time.
You won't be able to read that.
No, it's too small.
With your
Is this
eyes,
another age joke?
You won't be able to read that, would you?
Is this another age
With
joke?
With your
already?
eyes, you'd be doing one of them. Oh, it's
My
because you're a
eyes are
dad.
good.
I think you just start, as soon as you have a kid, it's like 20% of you goes to the kid, so you just deteriorate. And you've had three, so I mean, you're
40% of the man I used to be. Actually, I like your maths.
Whereas I have yet to procreate.
So you are 100% of who you are.
100%, which is way too much for the real world.
Which was average at best.
This is why I contain myself in here, within these walls.
Just to finish off the X-Brain point, if you use the code FULLREPTILE, you will get 10% off at checkout.
Do you remember that scene out of Dumb and Dumber where he goes to put sprays it out the side? I always think I want to see his little balls. Yeah, I leave that in here because I sit in here every day, so I have a little spray. And Wolverine reminds me, just gives me a little nudge.
Good stuff.
What else have we got to talk about? Oh, well, should we talk about some fights?
Yeah, we've got a lot of fights to talk about.
There's loads of fights to talk about.
Been busy.
I'm starting with Triller.
Oh, okay.
I'm starting with Triller.
I'm not partaking.
You have not watched it, have you?
No.
You've been resistant. Have you seen at least seen the highlight?
I've been sent the knockout.
Is it a highlight?
I've been sent the knockout. I'm not sure the Americans will vibe with this word. I feel like it's very British, but the gobshite got his win, didn't he?
It's a good word for him.
In my opinion, if you're relatively okay at one part of combat, you shouldn't be a gobshite. You should shut your mouth and you should keep working until you're good at all parts of combat. And then maybe you can say whatever you want. But, you know...
Is this what happens when you get famous through the internet, though? This is what you got to ask yourself.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, his world is entirely unrealistic. He's 24 years old. He has an entourage. He had a fucking robot.
They're gobshites as well. Do you see them speaking to Woodley?
Of course they are.
But what we've said this before.
Woodley just... That's the fight. That's the fight to make.
Society has created these rules around him where he can behave like that and not get beaten the fuck out of. It's society that is protecting him. If you behave like that at any other time,
you're trying to blame me.
He's going to get battered. But I don't mind it.
I don't mind it. I mean, it's a circus, but everyone loves the circus. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
It's the whole, like music and fights and like there were like 26 commentators and half of them were wrecked.
Yeah.
Like Mario Lopez held the damn thing together because he's actually a fight fan. Whereas
I actually heard it was kind of sad listening to Oscar. Right?
Oh, dude, it was bad. I mean, like Frank Mir put a post out yesterday about, he could be annoyed about the commentary and stuff. And like, I mean, I understand because it was his fight, but they were talking about, like Oscar was talking about his opponent. Oh, well, that's why he's got 9 losses on his boxing record because he's got no chin. And it was just a bit as if it wasn't already trashy enough. It was further trash.
Another level of trash on top.
They didn't announce Ben Askren's name correctly. Mr. Buffer called him Askew, which was unfortunate. And then one of the commentators said that he's shaped like a bag of milk.
That is a great reference.
Good, that is,
I'll give him that.
Yeah, I like that one. That's some Conor McGregor trash talk, that is. But it was just, I didn't
know.
Mind
it's just not my...
I mean, Frank Mir looked good as a heavyweight. I mean, he's always been able to pack a punch and he's never been particularly light on his feet. You know what I mean?
So he went to a decision, right?
Yeah.
Against a boxer?
Yeah. An older guy, but they're both older at this stage. And if they're cleared medically, I don't mind it. It doesn't bother me at all.
No, it's a new challenge for Frank too, right? He's just looking for new challenges.
Yeah, and Bella was in his corner, his daughter was in his corner, which was cool. I mean, it was just kind of the whole thing was a weird spectacle, but they did a bunch of buys and, Ben Askren played his role. I don't know why anybody expected it to be any different to that. It is beyond me how anybody thinks that Ben Askren's MMA career transfers over to fairground boxing. Because he was like, he's so good. It's almost like having punching power. If you've got punching power, you kind of negate some of the value of learning how to throw the punch correctly. If you're so good at grappling, to an extent, you can kind of neglect the other parts of your MMA game. Like, you don't have to be great at striking because you've got the threat of a takedown.
Yeah, so and elite, he was elite
of course.
Doing what he wanted to do, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, if it was an MMA fight, it wouldn't have lasted that long, but it would have gone the opposite way, and we all know that. It's just, and Ben Askren was laughing and joking about it. I think he's made bank on it. Fair play to him.
Man, I'll be laughing.
The problem that most people have is the fact that Jake Paul's got this illusion of himself as some kind of fighter. And I don't know as he does. I think he has fought 2 other people that were a similar level to him, which is like base level. Yeah. And then he fought Ben Askren, who was probably the easiest. He was the lowest hanging fruit of the MMA tree, unless you went for Hoist Gracie or something.
Like I say, man, the rules are protecting him currently, and he's acting like he's something that he's.
Although I did notice though, Chuck Liddell's got the old boot polish out to colour his handlebar moustache, and I think he's looking at coming back. We're going to see him in there against someone next. Him against Roy Jones or something. You watch.
I don't want to see that. He was like a hero of mine.
It was so rough.
First found the sport. It's like a hero of mine. I don't want to see him getting hurt again.
Yeah,
that was nasty towards the end of his career, wasn't it? It was hard to.
Yeah, it was
hard to watch. All right, can we talk about some real fights now?
They were real fights.
Well, okay. Can we talk about some professional?
It was a real
fights?
spectacle.
It was a real spectacle for sure.
Yeah, go on then.
Paul,
Who do you want to see De La Hoya fight on the next Triller card, just out of interest?
I think you should fight him and dust him up.
Well, he wants, what's his name? I've heard rumours that he's going to be fighting Eddie Alvarez. That'd be a lot of fun to see.
Okay.
I think Alvarez would be a lot of fun. He's a bit
But
reckless. He's signed to one, isn't he?
Yeah, he's signed to one. He's doing good. He's got a good name over there. I think they like him.
Yeah, but that disqualification that he's coming off,
Yeah,
might make him angry and frustrated. He's been stopped and disqualified now over there. It was not the celebration that he wanted around his debut.
They were making a lot of fuss around him.
Yeah, they should. Yeah. It means Eddie Alvarez.
Yeah.
Same as DJ, make a lot of noise around him as well. And they've got another card coming up. There's a couple of really interesting fights. Obviously, John Wayne Parr against Holston is going to be fireworks. Yeah. They're doing good things at the moment. I think they've got some really interesting fighters on the roster, and I think that I think everyone expected Eddie to go over there and just start smoking people left, right, and centre, and it just shows you how competitive the MMA world is.
Man, I like them. I like one as a promotion. We've been chatting to them a lot. I like their ideas around weight cutting. I like their ideas around being Asia-centric. It's a cool promotion. Man.
I like all the different rule sets and cage Muay Thai as well. I'm a big fan of Rod Tang.
Yeah,
dude's a savage, and Haggerty as well. He's one of the UK guys. Okay, come on then. What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about our boy from before, Paul Semtex Daly. Man, what a fight! It was all overshadowed quite a bit of this weekend's fights. I think.
Yeah,
he's just good, man. He's so good. He's been around for so long. He's a bit out there sometimes, to be polite, and he's a little bit out there. But man,
that's what makes him special, though, Paul.
Yeah, I genuinely do believe he's a special martial artist.
Yeah,
he was under a lot of pressure, man. He pretty much got dropped.
Yeah, but they're the best versions of Paul.
Yeah,
the
backs against the wall.
Exactly. Even though the Nick Diaz one didn't work out for him, it's one of those fights that will go down in history as something that he took part in.
Top 5 for sure. Top 5. Loved that fight.
Brilliant
Apart from
fight.
the result,
Loved it. But Paul always gives as good as he got. But I remember cornering him once in a fight. He was fighting down at Cage Rage, and he was fighting Xavier Fupapokum, who was a lethal Thai boxer. And Paul was in all kinds of trouble early on, getting caught with knees in the clinch and stuff, and big left hook comes out of nowhere, of course. But I always think he doesn't get the respect he deserves because sometimes he makes it look too easy. I think sometimes when he's under a bit of pressure, you get to see the depth of his game, how long he's been doing this for. I mean, he comes from ice hockey and ninjutsu. I mean, that's old school.
That's a great combo. 43, 17 and 2 and 21 and 3 in kickboxing.
That's mad, isn't it?
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. I always, even when we were working together years and decade ago, people would say he was talented. They'd always say, "Oh, he's so talented." He weren't talent, man. This man's been working hard for years, and he's been refining his craft.
He's an athlete as well.
Yeah, of course. But there's plenty of plenty of them.
Massive hands.
He does have massive hands, which probably helps momentum wise. Utmost respect, man. He looked great. I was really happy for him.
Yeah.
And Mads.
Oh man,
yeah,
he's just so good, man.
Friend of ours, isn't he?
He is just so good. Like, I mean, you can see not only the way he controls the fight, but also the way he examines it. I mean, like we watched it. I said to V, I could do a breakdown on his post-fight interview.
Right,
like the way that he talks about the fight and how he felt when he clinched. It was like fighting a rhino. I fucking love his accent as well. But he's like, you can just tell how not only how much he's examining his opponent before he's going in. He also is a student of the game. I mean, he really loves like James Toney. You can see that in his Philly shell style. But then like when he was talking about when he locked up with him, it was like a rhino, and then he got him in that in the necktie, which is one of his moves. And he heard Saul's corner team coaching him to be stubborn and wait.
Right.
So he was like, they're trying to gas me out. So he had to let go and move on to a different position. Okay. Like that's levels. Yeah. That is.
All your senses are working at the same time. There, you're not you're not narrowed down. Yeah.
And he's a special athlete because he's not overly athletic in any way. You know what I mean? He uses what he's got, and it's kind of
he maximises what he's got.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's some great stuff on the channel. Go check it out. The Raptors have been following him around for like a couple of weeks, really, wasn't it? Pretty much.
Well, they got some footage of him in
fight.
Vegas, and then they followed him. And Jamie was backstage with him during the event, so he's got some good stuff.
Yeah, some really cool stuff.
Mystery's been stolen by Bellator.
Yeah,
like they've just
headhunted.
They've just stole him. They're like, you can work a camera in. You look very creative.
Yeah,
weird tattoos and
no,
they smashed it out.
Yeah, check them out, man. They're really nice, nicely put together pieces, aren't they?
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for. Well, the Raptors are moving on now, aren't they? The Mystery's in New York for a little while before he goes back for the Rumble Romero fights.
We'll try and get some gyms in New York covered. We'll get Mystery into a few gyms in New York. Then he'll go back, cover the next Bellator, and then I think we're going to send him out to Thailand. But there's a bit of an outbreak. There's a bit of a COVID outbreak in Thailand at the minute, so we'll just see how that goes. But we'll get him over to Tiger Muay Thai and get him over to a few of the gyms over there and get some behind the scenes footage for everyone.
What do you reckon to Nemkov? Do you reckon he's going to find his way all the way through this Grand Prix?
I'd be interested to see the odds because he must be close to favourite, right?
Mm. I mean, he's coming in as the champion.
Yeah,
he looked really good against Phil Davis, but I never felt like he really put his foot on the gas too much. It was like he was kind of idling and managing the fight. Mystery. I was chatting to Mystery last night, and he was going back and forth into one and other dressing rooms while they were warming up, and he was like, it was really weird being in the Nemkov dressing room because him and his brother were on the card, weren't they? His brother fought earlier on the night, and then obviously Fedor's in there as well. Oh. And Mystery's got this like Fedor's a little bit like.
Hold on a minute, does Mystery know who Fedor is?
Absolutely, he does. Right. I've made sure I have educated the Raptors in the histories of MMA. But it's like even just his aura, even if you didn't know Fedor, he's just got this kind of this
presence.
Yeah, that's the best
presence.
word for it.
Definite.
And I think Mystery was terrified, obviously being the smallest person in the room as well as.
You should rightly be terrified. Russian. That's the appropriate feeling. If you're in and around him, that is definitely the appropriate feeling.
I think Corey Anderson looked awesome.
It's going well. This Bellator tournament's going well. Like I said, I think on the last podcast, I just like the format. I just like there's a storyline coming together and there'll be a crescendo at the end. Yeah, it's cool.
But this
cool
is the
format.
Crescendo of the opening round though. This one coming up.
Yeah,
like Rumble Romero.
That's a big one, isn't it?
That's a big one, that is. And I've just got this feeling. Like Romero's great. Moving up to 205, I don't know whether that changes him physically, whether he had to battle to stay close to 185. I don't know.
Must have.
I mean, you would think so, wouldn't you?
Must have, mustn't he?
Plus, I mean, he is older. I mean, what is he, 40, 43, I think he is? You know what that feels like. It's
not quite. Thank you, Dan.
He can't read the text on this bottle for sure.
Hold on a minute. You've not even given me that bottle to see if I could read it on.
You can't read it.
You've just assumed.
See?
You've just assumed that I can't.
I know you can't. I don't want to disappoint you. I have to get you a big text on your iPad so you can see. I have to get your phone to read your text messages to you.
By the way,
go on, Karen.
I'm 3 days older than you, so
I know, but
I don't know why you're going down this.
A lot happened in those 3 days, though. A lot happened in those 3 days. By the time I was born, you were like 14.
Maybe.
I mean, you went through the whole.
Then you got punched in the head
for
a decade,
cliff
or 2 decades.
That's
so
it
must have leveled it out.
But now you're getting punched in the head by Jimmy Wardana.
You're doing weights, and I'm getting punched in the head by Jimmy.
There you go. One thing I did notice about this shirt when I put it on is that I'm a little bit 1990s John Danaher in it. It's like it's the V-neck.
Can never be enough John Danaher.
I mean, I've got
my opinion.
I've got my
it does peek out the top nicely.
Yeah, a little bit. But I need it to be much lower for Team Alpha Male, wouldn't I?
Nah, yeah. I'm glad that fashion is.
Are you glad that's gone?
Yeah, that was not.
It almost got to belly button point.
Yeah, it's not a good. Yeah, I'm just waiting for skinny jeans to finish. I'll be right again. Right, shall we review the UFC card?
Yeah, let's.
Where do you want to pick any out? Any you want to pick out?
Meerschaert.
Hairy Bush.
No, that fight didn't go exactly how I was expecting. That one. Anyway,
good to see Meerschaert get back on the wagon.
Fabinski is not an easy person to put away. His judo background and he's like physical conditioning as well, and he was out.
Yeah, do you see how fast that came on? You know that squeeze was a hard squeeze.
Like people underestimate Meerschaert because he's not had the wins in the UFC, but you look at the guy's record and he's been around a long while. He reminds, he's 32 and 14. He reminds me a little bit of like a modern day Jeremy Horn.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like Jeremy Horn was around. He was a middleweight and he was fantastic. Yeah. But like his record, I think when he came back to the UFC and fought Chuck Liddell at light heavyweight, I think his record was like 64-19 and something, you know.
Amazing.
Meerschaert's a bit like that because he's got the subs. He's a bit like a Venus flytrap.
I feel like there's a place for them for the Meerschaerts. You know what I mean? Like they're a good. You know, let's be honest. He's probably not going to challenge for a belt in this lifetime now, but there's still a role in the sport for him. You know, he's a really tough second or third phase gatekeeper that you need to put people in against to see if they can manage it or not.
I would say he's a good. I would say he's a good filtration system for heavy grapplers. Like if someone wants to come in and they lean heavy on a wrestling game, they've got to be able to stop him subbing them.
Yeah,
like that's where Jack Hermansson kind of showed himself, I think, because he was all over Meerschaert.
Yeah,
like, and he kept throwing subs at him. Meerschaert kept escaping, but eventually,
it's like, right, we're going to give you the Meerschaert picture. See what you can do with that.
That's it.
Okay, tick. Right, we know he can deal with that. Move him up and onwards.
Yeah, like I think there are a few like that. Like I think Cowboy's played that role in both divisions that he's been in.
Yeah, there's definitely a few. That archetype is definitely around, isn't it?
By the time I fucking hair up, dude, I did this with that Manscaped clipper thing.
Well done. The Manscaped offer is still on.
Oh, is that right?
20% off if you use full reptile at the checkout.
Genuinely, I was surprised. Genuinely, I was surprised because I thought it was just for balls and faces, and then like I forgot I'd not charged my regular clippers, and I was like,
give it a go.
If they've got a guard in the case, I'll give it a go. And add a little guard that slips on straight down to the wood, both sides.
Beautiful.
It's my air conditioning for summer.
Did you see the Romanov Espino fight?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting.
It was a very fatiguing groin shot.
Yeah.
very. He was exhausted from that quick kick to the balls.
Yeah. It's funny because in the preview I was talking about his conditioning. I thought his conditioning was really good, but there's two types of conditioning. One where you're dominant and you're controlling your rhythm, and then the other one is when let's see what your conditioning is when it's not on your terms. And when it wasn't on his terms and he had to wrestle a lot, and Espino he's just a difficult dude, isn't he?
Yeah.
He seemed to gas pretty hard, man. And
you could see how disappointed Espino was as well.
I wouldn't even look at him.
Like when they announced the winner, he was like...
Yeah, that's exactly. It was just like, oh, yeah, that bad was it. I mean, like, I'm not going to pass judgment on how much another man's balls is hurting after being kicked in them, but I suppose your balls hurt a lot more when there's 15 millimoles of lactate in your system than they do when you're fresh.
You mean when you're exhausted, for people that don't have a PhD
absolutely.
in sports science?
Exhausted.
What did you say? Millimoles?
Millimoles of lactate. If you're 15 and above millimoles of lactate in your blood, you're in a world of pain.
Is that right?
A world of pain, yeah.
Okay, we've all learned something new
There
today.
you go. It's not a nice place to be.
I've been in that place a few times.
Unfortunately, you have to be in there a lot to get used to it, to then be able to tolerate it.
Oh, no.
Horrible. I feel like you're a Luis Pena fan.
Feel like I am.
I think there's some stuff about him that I feel like you would like about him. He's not quite there though, is he?
That's exactly it. He
he's
frustrates
just not quite
me
there.
because he's not quite there.
Yeah.
Because I can see where he's at and I can see what he's capable of, but he's learning generic martial arts, and it's not his style. Like oftentimes, especially with these young fighters that are coming up that don't have the pre-existing framework of an old martial art of, well, I came from wrestling or boxing or kickboxing or karate or whatever. Like as they're watching MMA, they're absorbing MMA as a thing,
As a system.
Yeah. And then they go into the gym, and oftentimes I feel like a bias is imposed on them in some ways, and I don't think that. I think he needs taken by a coach that can craft a training camp around him so they can bring the best out of his abilities.
Yeah.
Like I've seen it a few times. Like if I start mentioning people, I'll start upsetting gyms now. Like Paddy Pimblett's a good example. Like he's got really, really strong skill sets, but then there are some facets of his game that they've not quite developed yet. You know, like his physical conditioning is something that's stepped up since he's been working with Paul Reed. His ground game's always been good. He's always been an aggressive, chaotic fighter. But the bit where he ran out was when his game plan stopped working, and then all of a sudden there seemed like there was a big gap in his game where there were his excellent skills and then there were the rest of his skills. And because he keeps blasting people out the water with his ground game, it's difficult to see whether that gap's closed. Yeah, I mean, you know,
it's the art of coaching, right? You got to, you can't. Of course, you have to amplify the things that athletes are good at, but you can't ignore the things that are going to. A really nice phrase I've heard before is rate limit. So what's going to rate limit? What's going to just put the block in where you can't get past that certain level?
Where's he training, Pena?
Yeah, there's a glimmer in him, man. I just feel like there's a glimmer in Pena where you're just like, oh, you're not that far off. There could be something good here.
And like the thing is, he's 6'3" as a lightweight as well. But it's not like he doesn't look unhealthy.
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it looks like his normal body type. He just looks like a skinny, athletic guy. I
can't see him. Certainly now, I can't see him up there with the Makhachevs and Dariush and the Gillespies even at sort of.
Maybe we're expecting too much of him though. Yeah, because he trains out American Top Team. I wonder who's coaching him. Sometimes like American Top Team, obviously they churn out numbers of good fighters. They have numbers and numbers of fighters come through the door as well. So their stock to select from is relatively vast. Yeah. But then also at the same time, like unique individuals get lost in gyms like that because they don't fit the format of I mean, they've got so many different coaches there. You'd expect him to gravitate towards someone that could help him work with his physical attributes and his natural rhythm.
Yeah, next time you come out, I want to come with you, and because I'm fascinated to know, because we have a relatively small gym, right? But by the time you get to ATT size, is how do you manage everything that's going on at the same time? So I talk to the PI in Shanghai all the time, and they have 30 active athletes, so they're constantly sort of managing the periodization of each of those guys, and you can group them and stuff. But how many people are fighting out of ATT? Yeah. There's loads, right?
40 odd.
And so you got a head coach. How does he get his ideas down to his assistant coaches and make sure these guys and these guys are still getting the same level of care and attention? Like it's a big management project.
It is massive. I mean, I did do a podcast with Conan when we were out there last, and he talks about he has individuals that he puts in charge of their training camp and in charge of so he oversees everything, and then there are certain fighters that he works with directly, but then he's also got like a training camp leader which is specifically chosen for that fighter, and that's how they work it. But then at the same time, like there are numbers, and you've got to think, when you've got like the Amanda Nunes and the Joannas near the top, how quickly does that attention filter down to these guys? I mean, Pena's, he's early, 9-3, he's early in his career. I think he's got some interesting skills, and I think he's got an interesting rhythm about him. And I just don't. You're exactly right. I just don't think he's quite grasped yet who he is. Like that shouldn't have been a split decision win for him. He should have been all over that fight.
Yeah, but you know what? Munoz did pretty good though. He's he's tough. He's probably not elite of the elite, but he's a tough dude.
He is.
It ended up being tricky. Like it seemed tricky for both of them. They couldn't quite work each other out, and no one could exert enough dominance to really run away with it.
I mean, I think the thing is with the lightweight division, like you've got to do something special to stand out. You've got to. I mean, the thing is, Pena at 9-3, he's probably 8 or 10 fights off, even on a win streak. Yeah, he might be 8 or 10 fights off a title shot.
Maybe you're right. Maybe he just needs a bit of time at the coalface and refining who he is, work out who he is, and then work out how that works with different opponents. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Were you surprised that Malkoun grappled as much as he did?
No, it was just exactly what he had to do, wasn't it?
It was interesting because he's
he?
Like same camp as
Well,
Rob
that would have
Whittaker.
synced in quite nicely with how that main event went.
Like they both had the same game plan coming in.
Yeah,
you could tell how
a good grinding win for him. Though.
It was,
he had to do. There's a lot of danger with Alhassan and how much power he can generate. And,
I mean, I didn't realise Alhassan was
you?
moving up to middleweight until we looked into it.
Yeah.
But, like, I was wondering whether that was why his firepower at welterweight wasn't quite as, like, you expect him to be more aggressive and more explosive than he is, and he kind of settles and gets drowned a little bit. And I wondered whether maybe moving up to middleweight might give him a little bit of extra energy, but he just got frustrated.
He got smothered.
Arlovski looked good.
The old dog, eh? The old dog. You just...
Yeah.
Oh, man, how much respect can you pay to Arlovski? You know what I mean? He's just
always there, isn't he? He's
always
just
there,
consistent
and he's still accurate. He's still elusive. He's still sharp. Obviously, he's not quite as sharp as he was, but yeah, he's just... That's a tough fight for Sherman, because there's not many gaps, is there? There's not many gaps, and if you get punished, you just get punished for lazy striking, and you know that's what he did. He's just...
You've got to
42.
be able to put people down with... Is that what it is? Yeah. You've got to be able to put people down with one punch for you to be a problem for Arlovski. You know, young, fast, explosive. Catch him running in or be able to cover distance quicker than he can get away.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. He sort of forced him into that chase me, follow my leader type game, wasn't it?
A little bit.
And
which is, you know, it's what Arlovski's done to a couple of recent opponents. Was it Tanabosa that he did it to? You know, just
it's a patience game.
Played the veteran game.
Yeah.
You know, and it's difficult to do it against guys like Tom Espino, because as soon as they put their foot on the gas, you know, there's not much you can do about it to get out of the way.
I mean, I've no idea who he fights next or what his intentions would be. Do you know what I mean? He just seems to be fighting for fun and legacy, I suppose.
Yeah. And cash.
Yeah,
I hope he's getting well paid. I'm
sure he's making a fair bit of.
He's got to transition into movies afterwards. If Oleg Taktarov did, you know what I mean? Oleg Taktarov was a perfect
villain, right?
Brilliant, and he's probably got the whole wardrobe for it as well, with, like, you know, big pitbull medallions. And...
I knew I could use this again.
Yeah, exactly.
His old leather jackets from the behind the scenes.
Definitely write this off. This is definitely a movie prop. Yeah, he's still. I mean, he's not inside the top. No, he's not inside the top 15 anymore.
No.
Has he fought Olenek?
I can't remember. Do you want me to have a look?
I'm going to try and get there first.
Oh, okay, I'm not looking if you're looking.
Oh, hang on a minute. No, I'm not there yet. I don't feel like he has fought Olenek, has he? I feel like I would have remembered that.
He probably doesn't want that. He's like, oh, what are you going to do?
But they're both at that stage in their career.
That's like a Bond villain versus a Bond villain.
It is, right?
Isn't it?
Yeah. Like winner takes all.
Yeah.
You'll get the volcano island and the evil submarine.
You, sir, are the ultimate villain.
Go on then, Gastelum, Whittaker. Gastelum.
Man.
Gastelum, Whittaker. Whittaker, Gastelum.
What a performance.
Very impressive, right? Really impressive.
What a performance. I don't know why. I don't know whether it's his like persona or just the sort of, because he's such easy natured and he just seems like a nice dude that you have a barbecue and a beer with, but you almost don't expect him to be as violent as he is. He's just like too nice to be that good kind of thing. I just thought he was incredible.
Yeah.
I just genuinely. I spoke to Dean Ammersinger last night and we were just throwing around whether he's got to be up there with one of the most well-rounded fighters in the sport at the minute. Certainly
now. After what he showed against Gastelum. You know, I kind of... part of my brain was going, I think he's going to grapple in this one. I think he's going to use his wrestling, because I know he'd been investing heavily in his jiu-jitsu when he was kind of taking a break and you know, kind of gathering himself. I just, you know... It was the right game plan for Gastelum, because he was either out or in, and he never stood in that middle ground where Gastelum's, you know, heavy, square-footed, slips away and counters.
But he's just out,
outside the range. But you know, it forces Gastelum to take a step. Like, you know, I was talking about it in the breakdown for Usman Masvidal as well. Like, Usman's jab is so fast that if you stand in punching range, he's just going to keep hitting you with it. If you stand just outside of punching range, then you're forcing him to take a step before he can land it, which gives you a much easier tell, especially someone like Whittaker or like Masvidal, who's going to watch your whole body. And, you know, is easy to underestimate. Masvidal, you were talking about it earlier. It's easy to assume that not much is going on and he's just there for a scrap. Yeah. When in actuality is measuring you in about 8 different ways. Yeah. And like Whittaker, when it comes, like you just said, you know, you want expect him to be as violent as he is. I think Whittaker's more on the Usman end of the spectrum when it comes to the fight. I think it's more about competing. I think sometimes you see him with venom, but that's when it works against him. Like that's when Izzy was able to take him out, when he was swinging for Izzy.
Yeah, when he tempted him to man it out in the pocket a little bit. Yeah.
You know, like he went crashing into Tillen in the first round of their fight and got caught with that elbow.
Yeah.
And then immediately reeled it back and was like, okay, I can manage this fight really well. I've got the skills to do it. He had beautiful variety in his shots.
Yeah.
But he was either, I'm right outside, so Gastelum's got to step to throw something, or they were clinching, he was forcing him to wrestle.
We were saying earlier, weren't we? Like he has this incredible ability just to get his right hand up to block just at the right second, and I was sort of spitballing how that is. It's almost like, right, I know you've got 5 ways to get to here. If I see that cue, I'm not gonna hold it up and walk around like this because it's draining my energy. But any of those cues that I see, every single time he would just block it at precisely the right moment.
Yeah. And the other thing you have to consider as well is if he's identified the different attacks that you could throw, if he's not got his hand up, then he's also got those options as counters if he tempts you to throw them.
Yeah.
You know, it's like oftentimes you'll see Whittaker, and he wasn't doing it with Gastelum because Gastelum's quick and he's got heavy hands. But oftentimes you'll see Whittaker kind of lean real heavy on his lead leg, almost like Izzy does it as well. It's like, here's my face, try and hit it, and then I'm gone and I'm countering.
I know we touched on it, but his ability to just stay out of range. That's like it's like the Bermuda Triangle, right? It's just like it's such a high risk place to play.
Yeah.
But if you can master that space, that is mastery of striking, right? That's it's
exactly
like this. It. It's like this amount of distance. You master this amount of distance. You're high mastery in striking.
Yeah.
It's like because my bias is not understanding striking as well as grappling. It just blows me away. It blows me away how he can be that close to danger and then always just get that counter over the top and just get out of the way of the strikes.
The thing is, it's not like Gastelum doesn't have that awareness and those skills. It's that he's not. I think he's capped at a physical limitation when it comes to middleweight.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, like you look at the guys around him, like the guys coming up around Gastelum look like big, lean middleweights. They're strong and they're well conditioned and they're 6'2" at least, you know. And now he's like 5'10" and he's, you know, he just looks like a heavy welterweight. And I think to myself, like Gastelum as a middleweight, you know, absolutely he can sit around that 8 to 10 area and act as that filtration system for anybody like an Ian Heinisch that wants to come in and try and bang. And Gastelum's a perfect
slow a few people down,
for sure. Yeah. But then I think to myself, but if I was in Gastelum's camp and I was wanting him to try and get back to gold, put him in the welterweight division at this point. Like, can you imagine Gastelum against someone like Colby Covington?
Yeah.
You know, like where he's heavy, like stand on, like him against Gilbert Burns.
Kind of can't because their shape is so different. They don't even feel like they're one weight class away from each other.
Like I just think, I mean, you know, Gastelum against Sean Brady, Gastelum against Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, he'd do some damage with his striking.
Absolutely, and he wouldn't be at such a physical deficit in comparison. I mean, like you put Kelvin Gastelum next to Paulo Costa. And it's like a before and after pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
may well be.
But he's just, I just think he's limited at this weight class.
Yeah.
And
maybe,
he has to draw so much more on timing and experience and toughness.
Rob just had his timing. He just had his time. It was like he had a notebook and he was just like, oh no, I know exactly where you're going to be, and when you're going to be there.
But at the same time, all he did is he just exposed that attribute.
Yeah.
Like the problem with Gastelum is he stands so heavy on his feet, and Rob was just outside of his punching range. And Rob's patient. He's a good competitor. He's a good point fighter. He'll catch you and sting you and beat you up, and he'll manage that distance between as long as he doesn't put the emotion into it. But the problem is that Gastelum then has to take the initiative and step. In which case Rob sees him step and he sees how he's stepping and where his body's shifting and which direction he needs to go to get out of the way and counter.
I wonder what he's walking around at like
Gastelum.
like he seems like he enjoys life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
The thought of him cutting that extra weight class, I'm not sure whether he would be up for that or not. And he's been around. Do you know what I mean? He's not deciding on which weight class that suits him best. He's like, no, I'm a middleweight. Leave me alone.
Yeah. I mean, I might be wrong. I might be wrong. He might go down to welterweight and just be exhausted and miserable, and might not be able to perform. And unfortunately, Gastelum might be one of those guys that, he points out that need maybe for separations in weight classes. But unfortunately for Gastelum at the same time, he's probably one of the few guys in that weight class you could make that argument for. Like if you made a 177-pound weight class, like you look at the guys that have moved up, like Darren Till would be in that one, Uriah Hall possibly, Kevin Holland possibly, Brad Tavares.
Good division already.
Yes, it is a good division.
Yeah.
But then it is another division. It divides the middleweight division, and Gastelum is fun in this division. I just don't think he's physically able to compete with these top 5 guys anymore.
No. You maybe you're right. Maybe that's his limit. Maybe that's where he is.
Yeah.
He's a pain in the arse for people coming up, and that's he's the end of level boss before you get to the top 5.
Yeah.
Potentially.
He's the you shall not pass into the top 10 guy.
So what do you do? It's got to be Rob and Izzy, right?
It's got to be. Yeah.
That's the fight I can get behind. I'm not.
Well, there's an argument for it because Rob of old was not in a good place, mentally, physically, or anything. He'd come out of those training camps over Romero.
Yeah.
He'd put so much effort into becoming the middleweight champion and holding it, and then all of a sudden Izzy just comes in a storm out of nowhere, and everyone's carrying him on their shoulders. Like that must have pissed him off.
It must have.
Must have stung after
you can almost,
that he'd done.
I don't know, when he talks, you can almost see like he's like, yeah, I do want to be champ, but I also know how much work that is going to take, and it's going to take a lot of work.
So much work.
And I do want to do it, and I will do it. If everyone makes enough noise about it, I'll do it. But this is a lot of work, guys. Don't just throw this out there. This is a lot of work.
Or he could fight Jake Paul and make double the money.
Well, if they paid these motherfuckers properly, then maybe you'd be keener, be fighting for the title every week.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, but as long as well, let's not go there.
Not right now.
Not yet.
Not right now.
Not yet.
It'll come.
It's got to be. I don't crave to see Vettori leapfrog at all, particularly, and see that. I don't really crave to see Vettori versus Rob. I don't think Rob needs to go through anything to prove himself anymore, do you?
No, I don't. I mean, I wouldn't mind watching Costa and Whittaker just out of interest, but I'd much rather see Vettori and Costa.
Yeah, it just makes sense, right?
Back to the short punches.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Vettori beats him.
I haven't heard anything from Costa for a while.
No, he's pissed up, isn't he? He's pissed up. He's on the old the
Vin Rouge.
Yeah, that's his tiramisu. Some fighters, they just get something connected to them. It's like, that's your thing now. That's your thing forever.
There you go.
That's always.
Not a lot of finishes on that card. It was
lots of finishes.
Took ages to watch it.
Makes research really difficult, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah,
this is why you'll start to understand now why I like fighters that are finishers, because when I'm doing a back catalogue, I'm like, I can do Ngannou's back catalogue before lunch. It's easy to get through. Shall we move on to 261?
Yeah. What have we got coming up this weekend?
Oh, we have this weekend, isn't it?
This weekend.
I forgot. We've got the ride along coming through. So you've seen the backdrop that I've posted on my Instagram of the desert landscape. That was a photo by Mystery. Went out and took that for us. And we have the Cadillac chairs in there. So we're gonna do a 3-4 person ride along.
Yeah,
as the
first
fights
one. So bear with us. We're gonna try a few things out. We are gonna basically do live.
We'll do a live.
We'll go live at the same time as the fights are on. We'll be chatting and commentating on what's going on, and let's see how it goes. Yeah, I think it'll be fun.
We'll do YouTube this time around, but the plan is to also be doing audio only through a podcast channel. But as I said, we're starting off, and the Raptors are not well. One of the Raptors is home and quarantined, and the other one is still in New York.
So we could get the audio up post-fight, couldn't we?
For sure.
We'll get that. We'll get that up as quick as we can.
Yeah,
so you can listen back.
That'd be
cool.
You can mute the nonsense and
right. What a card.
Yeah, where do you want to start? I'm on Tapology. The first fight I've got is Conor Losey against Liang Na.
Right. Well, there's
And
a bit
you're all
of
about this, aren't you?
yeah. There's a bit of context here. So, like I said before, I spoke to Dean Amasinger yesterday. So, Dean, for anyone that doesn't know, is the director of coaching at the UFC PI
Director of COVID.
yeah, UFC PI in Shanghai. So anyone that doesn't know, the UFC have a PI in Vegas and Shanghai, but they're completely different setups. So the one in Vegas is sort of a hub for support for any of the fighters on the roster. You can come in there, you can get... What are you laughing at?
You're going to say it's a hub for STDs.
That's where your head's at. That's not where my head's at.
I'm just
But
making
any
jokes.
support, any performance support that you need as a UFC roster fighter, you can go to the PI there, and they will help with strength conditioning, nutrition, coaching, anything. But the one in Shanghai is an academy. It's doing it again, where they are running a fight team out there. So they have a full-time fight team, full-time staff structure there, and
It's amazing.
it's pretty fucking cool.
It's like an MMA university with all of the bells and whistles.
Like, this is my shit.
It's
This
amazing.
is the shit, right?
You love
This
that
is
kind
my
of stuff.
shit.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. It's an active centre of excellence. It's really cool. So there's 3 Chinese fighters on the card, and
Is it the first 3 fights as well?
Yeah, I think so. Depends on the order. Depending on the order, yeah, I think it's the first 3 fights. So they are all products of the UFC PI in Shanghai. So
Isn't Batgirl on their roster as well? They're now Batgirl. He's on the card.
yeah.
So their first 4 fights
Yeah.
are all PI.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, yeah.
Jeez, that's gonna be a busy night for him.
I'm not sure it's exactly the same for him, but the first 3, and Lang Na is one of them, have been recruited by the PI, gone out there, found them in the Chinese domestic leagues, brought them in. They've been through the combine, they've selected them, they've groomed them, coached them, and this is their first fight coming out of that process. And it's also the first time those 3 guys have left China.
That's crazy.
And just to layer another layer of complexity on top, the coaches can't go, they can't get visas. So they're out of China on their own, debuting in the UFC. Is this Florida?
Yeah, I think it is, isn't it?
In Florida, I think. So
Yeah,
there's
Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah,
Super
so
spreader Saturday.
There's a few things going. People didn't like that when you said that last time.
Did they not?
No, that we got some shitty comments about keeping your opinions on fake COVIDs out.
Oh, is that right? Are we not? Are you not here for our opinions? Is that you're in the wrong fucking place?
Yeah.
We can't talk about that.
We can't talk about anything other than fights.
Okay.
And
I don't give a fuck, honestly. If you want to go, go. If you don't want to go, don't. If you want to get vaccinated, get vaccinated. If you don't. I don't care.
Yeah.
Really, I don't. I'm of the opinion that everyone should do what the hell they like as long as they're not hurting anybody else.
That is words to live by.
Right?
Do whatever you want. Don't hurt anyone.
That's it.
Well, unless you've consented to hurt each other, then
Well,
you can do that if you want.
Yeah, that's consensual violence is fine. Non-consensual violence. Yeah. Well, we were talking. I know we had a bit of a deep conversation earlier before we switched over onto the podcast.
It gets deep every now and again.
It does sometimes, doesn't it? And we were talking about freedoms, and I've been watching that pirate documentary, and that was the last time there was proper freedom, like real freedom, like Nassau, when there were like no laws, no
rebel
rules,
community,
complete rebel community.
Do whatever you want.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Maybe a different podcast. Let's not get into that too deep.
How did we get into that?
Anyway, Lang Na. She's
vicious.
Yeah. Highly rated. Scores very high out of the PI. They're all about her. I think she could be a bit of a handful. Apparently, I know this is only strength testing, but apparently scores very, very high in her strength testing, and is subbing guys on the mat that are of a
See, that surprises
weight.
me. Given the fact that she's so flexible, it surprises me.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, I would expect her to.
You very rarely see that.
Yeah.
Hyper flexibility is apparently she's genuinely hyper flexible.
Huh.
Like you could basically,
hyperextend her elbow.
Yeah.
I wish I had that power.
She could touch her armpit the wrong way. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched one of the fights
some people would
recently.
say that you were pretty close.
Yeah, the weird thing with me is my elbows are not at all flexible. It's my shoulders that are flexible.
Yeah, right.
My elbows are actually the opposite.
And your will is inflexible.
Well, that's very true.
It was more to do with that than the other way around.
Yeah. I watched one of her older fights against Berezikova. It's from a while ago. It's 2017, but she was all over her like immediately. Like nice wrestling transitions, a little bit chaotic, leaves herself vulnerable from time to time. But because she's so active and so aggressive and really accurate with her ground and pound as well. Like no big wind up and wailing, like it places the punch right in her opponent's face. I'm really excited for this one. I mean, I know she's picked up a few losses in her career so far. She got 4 on her record.
Yeah, but this is not going to be easy though.
No, it's not. No, not at all. Carney Losi is very tough. The reason she lost that other fight was because Angela Hill stopped her with cuts.
She's tough.
Yeah,
she's really tough. What is she 12? She's 12-2, right?
12-2 now. Yeah, but she lost a pro debut to Amanda Hebus.
Yeah.
So
So the 2 losses is Amanda
Hebus and Angela Hill. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's and you look down the record of opponents that she's fought, and it's not like she's been fighting loads of people with losing records. Early on she was fighting a few people that were just starting out, but before she joined the UFC, she beat Caitlin Souza, who's 8-1. I think she's tough and durable, and I think she was up against it. I think she came in on short notice as well, didn't she?
Man, this is going to be a fun.
It's going to be a firecracker,
matchup, isn't it? Yeah.
But it's got to be kind of Losi keeping the distance and striking. But it's that Goldilocks zone again because Langnar's tall, isn't she?
Oh, that's a much better analogy. What did I say?
I don't remember. I've already erased
Bermuda
it.
Triangle. That is not what I meant. The Goldilocks zone is a much better analogy. I'm stolen that. I'm going to use that. That's exactly what I meant. Exactly what I meant. The Goldilocks zone. Yeah.
It's not hot or cold. It's right.
Yeah.
Right,
no one's disappearing. It's not the Bermuda Triangle. It's the Goldilocks zone. Anyway, thank you, Dan. I'll take that as today's combat upskill.
Yeah. Liang Na's 5'9" compared to Conor Losi, who's 5'2".
Wow.
So there is a considerable height and reach advantage. And Liang Na will make it evident as well. She'll keep her at a distance and force her to work. So it's like Conor Losi being really close, but not so close she gets tangled up and is forced to,
Did you say 5'2", 5'3"?
5'2",
5'2", yeah.
With a 61-inch reach.
So you're going to think she's going to want to, if what we hear about Liang Na's grappling is true, you're going to think she's going to be all right in either range. She's going to be happy to stay on the outside and use her, use her length. And then if it does go to grappling, maybe she's going to be all right there as well.
You could say that she bookends Conor Losi's skills.
All right, don't double down on your analogies. You've got 1-0 already.
She's coming off 3 first-round wins as well, and 2 of them by armbar. Around 3 minutes, so I like consistencies in fighters' games. 2 arm bars in just over 3 minutes, and a TKO in around the same time. She's got a lot of first round finishes as well. Hang on a minute, what's this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 recorded, and then 4 that are unlisted,
undisclosed.
Yeah. I think it's going to be
what the hell happened in those
start
fights?
the card off, and she's going to set the bar high for the other Performance Institute fighters.
Yeah,
what are they doing for coaches then?
Well, I don't know.
Just coaching each other.
Well, maybe, but probably not if they're back to back, aren't they?
I think
pretty much.
Or they just all go out to the octagon together and just stay there.
Like
got a bench at the side of the octagon they can just all sit down on. You know what I mean?
Right, you're on. Right, sweet.
Just go through the team.
Who knows? But it's it's a big it's another level of complexity on top of everything else that's going on in your debut. You probably don't need really, do you? So I wonder if they even have a corner team.
I don't know. They must have, but I bet they'll be able to. I mean, they've got the Performance Institute. They're probably pulling a couple of people from there. Yeah. They'll have Forrest Griffin in their corner. There you go.
Let me quickly do a tour of the institute while we're here.
Yeah. So I'm guessing we're just going to clean sweep for all the Performance Institute fighters.
Well, I mean, it's biased, isn't it? Because I have more information
biased
on them than anyone else. But from what I've been told, these 3, they're not sending their C-level guys out.
No, absolutely not. And the UFC aren't matching them.
No,
in ways where they're going to get absolutely smoked either, because it's
absolutely not.
They're building a market.
So who have you got next up?
I've got Jeff Molina against
Keelan Aori.
Keelan Aori, yeah.
Yeah, I'd go with that. So I have some information on him.
Oh dear, the Mongolian murderer.
Yeah. Oh, is that what it says?
That's what his nickname says. Yeah, I bet they'll change that for the UFC.
They have changed it.
They have.
Yeah, because I spoke about it yesterday, and
Of course they
we
fucking have.
were all about it, and they were like, "No, the UFC are not. They're not having it."
Sanitize that
They're not
shit
having
straight away.
So he got recruited in as a B level fighter. So at the PI they have A, B, C tiered fighters, and at the end of that year he got the most improved fighter award at the ceremony, and then got bumped into the A tier. And he went on to win the belt at the WLF promotion, which I don't know what that stands for, but it's the same promotion that Izzy fought on.
Yes. Yeah, I've watched a few of their fights recently. It's a big show.
You're right.
It's a big event. I mean, it's not like...
And it's Chinese domestic event. Yeah.
It's on free TV, so it get lots and lots of viewers. And it's not like he's not been fighting tough opponents. I'm just looking through his career to see if there are any names that stick out to me. And his first loss was Grigory Popov, who's a tough individual. He's 14-4, I think his record is. Well, it is now anyway. But it was 8-2 at the time, and Aori was 2-0.
Yeah,
and then he's got a loss to Kai Kara France as well. You know, it's not like he's been fighting nobodies. So when did the PI pick him up then? When did that whole thing start?
So they must have picked him up 18 months ago. That makes sense on his record.
Yeah, it does.
And then he would have done a season, and then he would have got promoted, and then he's midway through his second season at the PI.
Yeah. So basically, what we're looking at then with these Performance Institute people is that they've got a couple of losses early in their career, and they've been picked up because they've got potential, but not structure. So
that's the thing. All you need is to find a talent, and then you put them in the structure. You put all the support systems around them, and hopefully they blossom. And sounds like that's what's happening here.
So what do you know about Aori though? Because he's taking on a guy that's on a 7-fight streak.
Man, Molina's all right.
Molina's very good.
Molina's all right. Came through the Contender Series, didn't he?
Yeah.
Victory FC, I think he's fought. Last night I watched him fight on a Victory FC card.
Yeah.
Man, he's good. He's got nice control with his striking. He controls the range pretty good. His clinch work's really nice. And then, the fight I watched last night, he took his back, choked him out cold pretty fast. He's
that'd be Johnny Rhodes.
Yeah. He's going to go again. Like, not only is this card at the top of this card obviously incredible, then the bottom of this card, these early prelims, they're great fights.
So what have they changed Mongolian Murderer's nickname to?
I don't know. Something sanitized and
is it
slightly less violent. The Mongolian.
I quite like it.
Makes sense.
Just call him Genghis. Be done with it. Genghis Khan. That we can't get back on Dang Island's hardcore histories. That's a whole nother podcast as well. No. We could literally just sit in this room with the mics recording all the time.
Yeah, there'll be always someone rolling in to have a chat with.
Honestly, the amount of conversations I have sitting at this table, and I think to myself, we could have recorded this.
Well, we now stop having conversations.
Save it. That's why we were set up the other day when Owen came over, because you can't stop him talking.
Oh man, that went down well, didn't it? People liked it. It was good to have Owen back on.
And it's just nonsense, you know what I mean? It's the stuff that we talk about all the time, but we're 80s kids, and we've all got the same kind of experiences. We've got the same toys. Like I had Legion of Doom. I don't know where they are now, but I had them. I remember them.
Definitely had them.
First edition Star Wars that our dads had left us and that kind of shit. It's very similar stories. It's always good talking to them. We're going to do them every couple of weeks.
It was like the toys era as well, wasn't it? The 80s, because like my kids now, the only toy they want is an iPad. To be honest, they're not that bothered about it. There's a few cuddly bears and shit lying around always in the lounge. But they just want it's just changed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Things change. Yeah. Things change real fast.
That was the age of the toys, wasn't it?
It was.
There's some good documentaries on it, on Netflix and stuff, aren't there?
Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah. So what do you know about Aori skill wise? I'm just having a quick look at his record.
Not a lot, because I asked questions about what his gym stats were like. So he's
per kilo. What's he benching?
Yeah.
What's he benching? What's his deadlift?
Not quite
how high can he jump?
Not quite that, bro. But we're still bro-ish.
What's the girth of his quads?
Bro.
You fucking weirdos.
I promise you, I've never asked that question.
What's his wrestling like? I recognise him. I think he was at the PI when I went over there, and I did that little footwork class.
Per kilo, strongest guy in the institute.
Is that right?
Per kilo, yeah.
Is that if you're selling them in a wet market or something? Per kilo, what's that?
I'm trying to be your strength to
That's how
weight
they
ratio.
sell salmon. That don't help me.
Big dudes are obviously
Fucking-
stronger because they're big dudes. They got more mass.
Don't start bringing your sports science in there with me.
Per kilo.
Just because I've got the analogies, you don't mean you have to try
Yeah.
and counter it with some actual knowledge.
There you go.
Per kilo, is that
Per kilo, yeah.
Is that right?
You would have got that output. So your absolute
Yeah.
strength and then your per kilo strength.
Yeah.
Because big dudes are obviously stronger than small dudes.
Yeah. Per kilo, I'm about as strong as a paper cup.
Wow.
Which are pretty strong, I bet, you know.
Yeah, you
About
got
as
it.
strong
You had
as
a
an
good,
egg.
you had a good coach back in the day, so you'll be alright. That's 2 and 2. I've mentioned that.
Yeah. I don't know where he is now, though.
Shadow.
Getting beaten up at the gym is what I've heard.
Well, you don't hear it.
No, I can watch on the cameras. I've got it linked
True,
straight to my
true.
phone.
True.
Okay.
I'm out of sync. I've got my notes, but I'm out of sync.
I'm not
Who you
even
got
asking
next?
you for picks because we've got
you
Liang
should
Na.
pick them.
We've got. Are we westernizing it? Because I've noticed that Liang Na is Na Liang on Tapology, but we are always
Right.
westernizing. And when she was announced on WLF, she was Liang Na,
Okay.
which is definitely going to be changed for the commentary team. They'll definitely westernize it.
They'll just
definitely,
pre-agree
definitely.
between them what they're saying,
Yeah,
so they don't
yeah.
sound silly. Yeah.
No, they'll be told for sure. This is the way we're doing it because it will be matching all the graphics and stuff as well. You see.
Got you.
So, Kuleng, Aori,
Yeah. Killing.
Kuleng. That sounds good.
Kuleng.
Yeah, you're going with him, of course, because he's
I'm backing my
he's
boys
got a lot of
in
experience.
Shanghai.
18-6 compared to 8-2 for Molina,
Hmm.
and then you've got Zhu Rong. That's a wicked name, and he's fighting Vargas. Now, someone whose name is Rodrigo Cazula Vargas.
Yeah.
You know he's going to be fun to watch, and he absolutely is.
He's
He's absolutely
Maniac.
a lot of fun to watch.
a maniac. He didn't even pretend that was a legal knee
He was like,
against Brock Weaver.
Yeah.
He's just like, whack. And then like Brock Weaver, what?
Yeah.
You hit me with a knee? He was like, yeah. He's like, that's how much it rattled him.
But Vargas still counts that as a win in his head. He's like, yeah, you know.
Yeah, he's not winning.
No.
He's not winning within the constraints of the rules. He's just winning. You're either winning or you're losing.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun researching him back when he was making his debut. I called his fight against Alex Silva, I think.
See, he's fighting Rong Zhu, who I think is
Wrong Zhu,
90.
is it? Not Zhu Wrong.
Like he's young. He's very young, and he's out of China for the first time. He's got no coaches with him. Vargas could.
Oh, if he finds his way to Whole Foods, he's screwed. Those vegan cookies at Whole Foods, that's nothing he's ever tasted in
Yeah, I'll never
the
leave.
Abba Sichuan
He'll never
province of
leave.
China.
He won the combine at the UFC PI.
Really, 21, born in 2000.
Same gym in Tibet as Song Yadong and Sumiderji came from.
Ooh, really?
What did Mystery call Sumiderji? Was that someone else?
Yeah.
Anyway,
He gets all the names right. I quite enjoy it. I don't correct him anymore because I'm interested to see what his take on them is. 10-fight win streak Rong is on.
He's like
Rong Zhu?
they call him the Phenom.
Really?
Yeah, coming out of there. So
He hasn't got a nickname.
well, there you go. Maybe they actually do call him the Phenom.
There we go. That's what he can be nicknamed as.
But he could. I don't know. I've never seen him, but he could get overawed by the ferocity of Vargas, couldn't he? Because
he's already fought this year.
He's a young dude. Vargas is a hyper aggressive psychopath that is going to come and win the fight anyway. He needs to win it, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's the only.
Having said that might backfire against Vargas because he is aggressive, and that's what he does tend to. That's when he does tend to pay, is when he's over aggressive. I'm just looking at Rong's record here. Like, he's got several first round finishes, and it's not always by stoppage either, by knockout. Like, he's got knockouts, he's got arm triangles, he's got rear naked chokes later in the fight, guillotines later in the fight, but a lot of first round stoppages.
Thing I think too, I think you touched on it before, is this is the UFC PI. So Dean can't corner them because of conflict of interest. He's not allowed. That core team's not allowed to corner him. But the UFC PI is not going to throw these guys in with someone that's going to beat them up on their debut.
No.
You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense for the project. So there must be some sort of, at least like everyone is calculating who's the right guy to fight at the right time. And it's not that they won't fight everyone at some stage. It's just there has to be some sort of tiered progression, doesn't there?
Exactly.
So you're thinking they'd have done their research and they'd have picked people they believe is going to be close, but we should get a win.
Yeah, exactly. And and the thing is with Rong Zui is if they've put him in there with someone like Vargas, that's because he's good at dealing with aggressive fighters.
Yeah.
The first thing I thought is to myself, okay, who's Rong just fought? I looked down his record and he's got a first round win. He's got his last opponent, the person that Rong's just fought in January. So he lost in the third round to Rong, but before that he had a first round win, a first round loss, a first round win.
Right, so he's coming out guns blazing.
Exactly.
So he's used to that all out, all or nothing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and he's probably just because the guy's record's 9-7, so he's a risk taker. He's a bit wild, so it's likely that they've seen Rong matched up with overly aggressive guys that are a bit wild.
He's all right here. He's got those. He must be accurate and calm and under the pressure and stuff.
Exactly.
It'd be interesting to see what happens with this no coaches thing. Like
that'd be weird.
But
it's going to be weird.
But we create these institutes, right? We create these in all the sports I've been involved in. We try and create these high performance environments. But sometimes I think, are we creating fragility and are we creating dependence? Like
exactly that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, your coaches can't come. Okay, fine. Don't worry about it. I'm going anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like I remember having a row with someone pre-match because there was no spaghetti at the pre-match meal. I'm just like, well, right, there's no spaghetti. Well, don't play then. All right, don't then. Or like the bus broke down. And then there's like oh god, the bus is broken down.
Yeah.
I'm going to be late. I'm not going to have time to do my activation. I'm going to have time to do my massage. I'm going to have to. But like,
put your boots on the bus and be ready to walk onto the field
get on
when
there.
you get there.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, and I know. We want. If you're an athlete, you want to. Well, you are an athlete, just about still, just about.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Do you know, as a coach, you're trying to get all of these lights on at the same time. Mm-hmm. So all you have to worry about is your job. And I get that. I understand that. And, that's part of a high performance environment and department. But we just, as a coaching profession, we just have to be careful and not creating dependence and fragility. We've got to be robust and we've got to be able to get on with it when things aren't perfect.
So say, for example, in a fight, it hardly ever goes according to plan. Yeah. But that's the majority of the time is very similar to training camp and very similar to the process of trying to get a fight. It just never goes according to plan. Yeah. You've been preparing for this guy for 6 weeks and then it's somebody else. Or they're injured and now you're in limbo waiting to find out if you're fighting. Or you get injured, you're not sure whether you're fighting or whatever it is. Like, if all of that stuff is taken away and is managed externally, maybe you don't get that same kind of resistance to that chaotic shifts and changes. Yeah. Durability and adaptability, and luckily Roughhouse didn't have any choice in the matter. No, we had nothing. It was like the opposite the opposite of a performance institute. It was like, where are we? Don't know. Which gym are we going to? I'm not sure. Who are we fighting? Well, we'll find out in a few weeks. Exactly. But then on the flip side, a lot of these fighters, I mean, all three of them, Liang Na's 15-4, Aori's 18-6, and Zhu Rong's 17-3. And they've spent the majority of their career without the PI anyway. Yeah, for sure. So the likelihood is they've got something in place that is comfortable for them. They know how to get themselves to a fight. Yeah, because they've done it before, and you would think that their performance support would be nowhere near what it is now. Previously, and they've managed to fight. It might be easier now because they've at least got some knowledge to go with their previous experience of. I mean, I tell you what, Liang Na's fought on WLF for almost every one of her fights, apart from when she fought on a show called Heroin FC, which sounds like a blast. All of a sudden, I've got Golden Brown by the Stranglers in my head. You should come back for more. It's a bit Moorish, yeah. Heard that about that. Okay, so we've got Liang Na, we've got Aori, and we've got Rong Zhu, all fighting out the Performance Institute, all entirely biased. We're very, very biased. Them. So nobody else stands an absolute chance in hell, even though they're going there. They're sitting on a bench octagon side. They're going to corner one another. They're
Who knows?
going to have no idea what
This
they're doing
is
all the way
MMA.
through fight week because they've got no coaches.
No, but they are robust and they are adaptable.
They are
They've
robust
come through
and
the
adaptable.
Chinese domestic scene.
There we go. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
you know, I'm hearing good things. All I'm saying.
Okay. Well, that's exciting. What about? I've been trying to practice this guy's name, Natividad. Kevin Natividad against Danar.
Because you laughed at me earlier, so
Vatgarel.
that made me think you completely had that down. But you've been practicing it.
Yeah.
Natividad. I think I just missed the V out last time.
Yeah.
Natividad.
Well, when I typed it first off, I put Navidad,
Yeah.
and that's definitely not right.
Nedvedev.
And then
Nedvedev a footballer. Someone Nedvedev. I feel no.
Anything
Wrong
ball
person.
sport
Sorry.
somewhere.
Ice hockey or fighting. That's it. Don't ask about any other sport.
Danar Vatgarel.
Yeah.
Is he now at the Performance Institute as well?
Well, it didn't come up in conversation yesterday, so now I'm not
Storm.
sure.
Oh no, he's Jackson Wink. He's listed
Right,
out on
okay,
his
well, there you go.
affiliation.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I've called one of his fights as well. I feel like I maybe called his. Oh, I did. No, I tell you that's where I'm getting confused because he made his debut against Alateng Haley, who is a Performance Institute
Right.
individual. But then he's got that win over Guido Canetti, who Canetti's a good fighter, a good individual, and obviously he was desperately disappointed when he
knocked
got
him
caught
out?
with that shot. Yeah, knocked him out clean with a left hook.
Yeah.
But then Navidad's just been knocked out, hasn't he, as well? He got knocked out with that uppercut, which was a wicked punch, but I'm surprised he didn't sprain his ankle the way he fell back.
Right. Which funny, like, but that might be in the act of getting knocked out.
It's the drunk driver thing.
Everything, yeah. It's like when you're
like
pissed
crow
up and you
cop.
fall over, you don't hurt yourself as much as if you're like stiff on ground contact. Yeah.
Yeah, you remember when
is
it
he
happened to
from?
Crow Cop? And Crow Cop's leg folded when he got knocked out with that head kick from Gonzaga.
Yeah.
What the fuck was that all about? It was crazy.
Unbelievable. He's out of Mongolia as well, right? Well, not out of Mongolia. He's born in Mongolia.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, I mean, who knows? I don't know an awful lot about either of them, to be honest.
About these two guys. Even records, aren't they? Both 9-2.
Yeah.
What are the stats saying? UFC stats. So, average fight time for Danar Vatgarel slightly shorter, 9 minutes opposed to Natividad, who's nearly 13 minutes. Same reach, both 70 inches. Vatgarel's an inch taller. Much higher striking rate. No takedowns from either guy. No submission attempts.
All right. At least we know how this is going to play out.
Yeah, however, Natividad's got 100% takedown offense, although he's only had one fight in the UFC. And Alateng Haley was all over his Batgirl's legs, wasn't he? Because he's a good wrestler. He was the guy that got kicked to hell by I'm forgetting his name.
I'm not very good when you put
Kenny.
them there. Yeah. Well, picks wise, Batgirl's just knocked someone out.
Yeah, and Natividad's just
And
been knocked out.
Natividad's just been knocked out. So as loose as that prediction reliability is,
Good effort there.
I think that's
Good
what we'll go
effort.
for.
I always start researching these cards, and then it's the first fight that I decide I'm going to research is the first one that gets cancelled, like the day before we record.
Which way round do you research it? Top to bottom or bottom to top?
Bottom to top. So I know more about the guys at the top than the bottom.
Yeah. There's more likely for crossover on the top ones.
Yeah, exactly. And less likely for people moving around and getting cancelled.
Yeah, true.
The next one is Pat Sabatini against Tristan Connolly. Now, Tristan Connolly was the guy that fought Michel Pereira on really short notice,
Right.
And just waited until he'd ran out of gas. Where was it? I was there for that. I think it was in Canada, but it was he just went. No, it was the Gaethje Cowboy card, Vancouver, and fucking what's his name? Michel Pereira came out bouncing off the fence and doing backflips and all that kind of shit, and Connolly's just like, no, just
we'll
like
see. We'll see.
basic mid-level tough guy, Cage Warriors standard. Like took the fight on short notice. I mean, it was sensational to be in there on that night because it like after the whole performance, as well as I think Pereira missed weight as well.
Have you fought anyone who missed weight?
I fought a couple of people I didn't see them make weight.
I was just wondering if there's like a little bit of bitterness. You're like, oh no, fucking make you pay for that. You're coming in here with trying to get the edge on me with your weight.
The thing is, I don't ever feel like it was strategic back in the day. I never felt like if I didn't see somebody make weight, then I'm like, okay, they definitely didn't make weight, and that happened a couple of times, Thai boxing and MMA. But like that was more of a fuck you. I was like, okay, you're trying to get one over on me. I understand what's going on. You're going to force me to make weight, and then they're not going to. But then on the times when people were weighing in and were heavy, I never ever felt like it was a strategy thing back in the day.
Fucking makes a difference though, doesn't it?
It does now, yeah. But
like even a couple of kilos when you're wrestling just feels so much different.
But I don't think it made as much difference back in the day because the gaps in technique was so wide. Whereas I think now it's getting like this is why Gastelum's gotten sorted out and he's now finding himself at 8th. Because the guys are getting bigger and stronger and better. So
but the skills are rising up as well.
Skills are coming up as well.
Yeah.
It never really bothered me too much. And especially if someone had tried to kill himself to make weight, I'm like, you're doomed. You're doomed. I'm gonna hold that against you every round. Sabatini's a lot of fun. He's got a very traditional style of striking. A lot of like switching stances and like shifting his weight from one leg to the next and then spinning kicks, and he's not particularly quick, but I think that actually works in his favour. Okay. And that's an odd thing to say, especially when it comes to striking, because you think the quicker you are, the better. But oftentimes people move at such a rhythm, a bit like Pena. They move at such a rhythm that you expect something to land sooner than it does, and the awkwardness of the timing catches you. Okay. You know? Well, you know, I mean, you're Keith Jardine.
If there's one janky man out there, that's who it is.
He can dance like a motherfucker on that.
I'm sure he
can. I mean, expectations are high on Sabatini. And I know he had a really bad arm injury.
There's some noise, isn't there? There's a bit of noise being made about him.
Yeah. He had a really bad arm injury. I think he was he defending his belt?
He's got a nice array of finishes on his record. Like it suggests that he's quite well rounded. Like he's happy to sort of play ball wherever, really.
For sure. But the consistent thing is rear naked chokes.
Is that and first round? Pat the guy showed me earlier who knocked the guy out like 4 times.
Yeah. Stopped him with punches against the fence. Jordan Titoni, that was CFFC 84. Cage Fury. Yeah. Just bleed, motherfuckers. He's got some rear naked chokes on his record, coming off an armbar win. But he had that stoppage against the fence with punches against Titoni in the first round. But he was coming off an arm injury from that, which I think was quite problematic. It was I've not seen the fight. It was against James Gonzalez, and I think he was defending his belt, and and I know he was out for a while. That was 2020, and he had 2 more cancelled bouts after that. So anyway, lots of rear naked chokes on his record though. First and second rounds, that's quite consistent. A couple of heel hooks as well, but super fast, like 50 seconds and a minute 17.
It's got to be like that. It's got to be, the pick's got to be Sabatini, hasn't it?
I mean, I would think so. I would think so, mainly because that win over Michel Pereira was much more down to the fact that Michel Pereira outperformed him in his cardiovascular abilities.
Yeah, right.
And just
shot
gassed
his bolt,
himself the fuck out. Yeah. Like the good thing with Sabatini is that he manages that long distance range and has such a nice variety of striking skills that although Connolly's very effective, he might find himself just a step behind. And then when it hits the ground, Connolly showed to have good ground and pound and top position. But I don't know how much of that was down to the fact that Pereira had nothing left.
Yeah.
What did he have in his blood? Ampules of picograms?
Oh, did he?
No, what were you saying earlier?
Millimoles of lactate.
There you go.
Picograms. I thought we were talking about a steroid ban there for a second.
Well, I mean, there is no way that Michel Pereira is the age that he is stated on here. I mean, there's no way he's 27.
Wow.
There is no way. Look at his Tapology picture. Like he's 46. His Tapology picture. Like he's a fucking body double for Antonio Banderas in that photo just there from when he was on 13th Warrior. That's how old he is. He was the same age as Antonio Banderas in 13th Warrior,
wow,
which was made in 1987. There's no way he's 27 years old. Have you seen it? Are you on it?
No, I just.
I mean, it doesn't matter what photo you look at him, to be honest. But I mean, his athletic ability is surprising and lethal. But you look at the record, 11 losses on his record. A lot of those could have been, the
looks
illegal
like he's got
knee
3
against.
kids. To be honest, that's what he looks like.
But he just doesn't look like he's 27, does he? I couldn't believe that when they announced his name.
Good age, that. 27.
You don't remember being 27.
That was a good age, 27.
You don't remember being 27.
You didn't even have to warm up at 27. You just throw us in there. We're all good.
Did you have town criers back when you were 27?
Mate, you're 3 days younger than me.
Fucking long 3 days though, man, I'm telling you. It's a long
Colin, what's
3
next? Who
days.
we got?
Hang on a minute. Let me have a quick look. Where are we?
Just drop this down.
So you're going with you're going with Sabatini, are you?
Yeah, I'm going with Sabatini.
Brendan Allen against Carl Robertson, who's difficult to find on Fight Pass because half of his fights are listed as Robertson.
Mate, everything is difficult to find on Fight Pass, and for some reason it's not. Apparently, it's just mine. But if I've watched a fight, I want to rewatch it, I can't skip through it. I have to watch the whole thing start to finish.
Really?
I don't know if it's because it's the iPad or what, but it's
That's weird.
yeah, it busts my balls.
That's weird. Okay, Brendan Allen against Carl Robertson.
So Robertson got subbed by Martin Vittori last time out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Brendan Allen
Yeah.
is, like, you look at Brendan Allen's record, he's got a submission win over Kevin Holland. Like, he's got a decision win over Kyle Daukaus. He's got a ground and pound stoppage over Tom Breeze.
They're good. They're good solid wins they are, aren't they?
They're all good wins. And, I mean, he's losses outside of the UFC in LFA. He's lost to Anthony Hernandez, who's in the UFC, Eric Anders, who's in the UFC, and Trevin Giles, who's in the UFC. So all of his losses are UFC standard fighters. I mean, one of them stopped him, but it was decisions with the other two guys. I had a lot of fun watching his fights. I watched his Aaron Jeffrey fight again today, just to refresh my memory of how he came into the octagon, and he's just got that let's get into it kind of vibe. Good grappling, solid knee up the centre that dropped his opponent, jumped on his back, choked him out. So. I feel like Brendan Allen might have the experience to be problematic for Robertson here. So I like Robertson. He just seems a bit unsure of himself sometimes in fights.
He seems to have. He's struggling with the
levels.
The levels a little bit. Like obviously Marvin's of that level, Glover's of that level. Yeah, it might be it might be tough for him. I think this one.
Yeah, I wonder why. Was that Glover to share a fight short notice? Did he step in on short notice? I think he did, didn't he? Because he got no business being at light heavyweight. That's for sure.
Whoa,
batteries are charged.
All right, I was going to say we don't hear that very often.
No. Yeah, he's just a bit up and down, and he's 9-3 in his record. I kind of feel like Brendan Allen might be able to kind of bully him a little bit, like push him around and nail him with some hard strikes to the body, which is going to slow him down and maybe take his back.
And I think that's a good win. That would be a good win for Allen.
Yeah.
And another one that's. Yeah.
I just wonder where the Carl Robertson he's not even listed correctly on his Tapology page. He's listed as Carl Robinson on his Tapology page.
That's disrespectful. That
it's terrible, mate. It's terrible.
Mind you, after we've massacred those Chinese names that are further up the card, we should probably not dwell on that too much.
I don't think anybody from China is going to be listening to this because they
never know.
We talk too much nonsense anyway in the best of times. I like I said, I think Brendan Allen's going to take that. I just think Carl Robertson's not quite found himself, and he's found his feet yet. He's a bit jumping up and down, and I like Brendan Allen. I think I like the way he conducts himself when he fights. He's aggressive, he's to the point, but he's got skills to complement in every range. Dwight Grant against Stefan Sekulic. Sekulic came in on short notice as well, didn't he? He fought Ramazan Ameev in his UFC debut. Yeah. That was on Fight Island. He was so excited to be there. And he's a heavy underdog. He's
been with the Serbian Battle Championship for pretty much his whole career, right? They've got similar experience. It's just that Dwight's been around a little bit, and Stefan's just been with that Serbian Battle Championship the whole time.
Yeah. I think he was supposed to be fighting Claudio Silva, Ramazanov, and I think Sekulic stepped in short notice. I've just got a feeling that he wasn't, like, he didn't show up fully prepared for his UFC debut, you know what I mean? And he was, like, Ameev just kind of walked him down, backed him up against the fence, and I got the impression from Sekulic that, I mean, he's a southpaw, isn't he? And he is heavy on his lead leg, but he's still got much more of a traditional kicking game. And I just felt like he was crowded by Ramazanov. He looked a bit claustrophobic the whole time.
I found him a bit mechanical. Do you know what I mean? He didn't quite find a rhythm or a flow. He got popped as well, didn't he? I think he did a couple of years for.
Oh, did he? Yeah.
He's a bit roidy. I think he's a bit roidy out there in Serbia.
Oh, is he?
But I mean, Dwight's coming off getting knocked out by Rodriguez, who we spoke about last week, didn't we? But I thought he was actually doing pretty good.
Yeah,
he was doing really good.
Dwight Grant is good.
He kind of blew himself out trying to finish, and then didn't finish, which was probably right. The ref probably did the right thing. And then once he got up, he was sort of blown, and then Rodriguez has got some he's got some heat.
Yeah.
He was skirting the fence, wasn't he? And then just got caught on I'm not sure of the right hand. But he looked pretty good before that.
Well, he's got a split decision against Alan Jaban, a split decision win over Alan Jaban, and a stoppage over Carlo Pedersolio, I think was Cage Warriors champ. Alan Jaban used to be one of my sparring partners. He is good. He's a tough southpaw. Which is a good preparation for him, because Sekulic will be a similar kind of fight. And Sekulic, like I said, he was pressured by Ramazanov. And I don't know if Dwight Grant's got the same kind of pressure and ability, but I definitely think he's got the striking skills to make this a very difficult fight for Sekulic. I mean, you can back somebody up with strikes without having to pressure them with the threat of a takedown. And Dwight Grant's comfortable in the UFC now. He's been a while. He's picked up a couple of wins. I think
this could be tough for Stefan. I think Dwight might take this. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this should be wild.
Loads of fights to go on. Still Randy Brown against Alex Oliveira.
It should be pretty wild, shouldn't it?
It should be pretty wild.
Cowboys just
two tall, rangy guys, aren't they? With 6'4", 6'3". Randy Brown.
Yeah. Cowboy's just wild, right? He's another one that I just never see him being able to put together a decent run, because he's just too unpredictable and too wild. Like, he just doesn't have his base game or his base sort of mindset is not consistent enough to actually put on a decent run. He's always going to have wild, crazy, like entertaining wins, and then he's going to have some losses that you're like, mate, you shouldn't have lost that.
Yeah.
You lost that.
Yeah. He's just a massive risk taker.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it does, it costs him. I mean, that last fight against Shavkat Rakhmonov, that guy's really interesting. He's 12-0 and he's lethal. And like that, it's almost like the UFC kind of see Alex Oliveira like that. It's like, well, we're kind of not sure about this guy. Let's throw some chaos.
Really odd shaped toy and see what he does with it.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's send him this odd puzzle to try and figure out. And see
if we can do that. Yeah.
Because he kind of is that. Like, he was a tough puzzle for a few of these guys, but like Gunnar Nelson didn't have it all his way with him. Managed to turn it around.
But that's the thing in it. Is like, he's difficult. He is difficult. He's just too unpredictable to do anything more than be the odd shaped toy.
Yeah, but the problem is he too difficult for Randy Brown to deal with? Is the question. Because Luque closed him down, didn't he? Pretty close, and then Vicente stopped him with hammer fist from the bottom, which was a really odd finish. It was kind of like the Kevin Holland Jacare fight, but it was just hammer fisting him, stopped him like that. That's the thing. Is like, there's been a couple of times when he's been stopped, and it's not been the most orthodox of methods. And then you look across the octagon for Alex Oliveira, and you're like, well, he can just spinning elbows. And
if you want unorthodox, he's got a bag full of it. He's got this really nice. It might be remedial for you, but he's got this really nice, like, he stands high and then drops his level and sort of drags you back, and then he stands high and drops his level and drags you back. And they follow, and then he throws that rear leg kick. It's beautiful. Like, it tempts you in. Whack, throws that rear leg kick. It's a really nice little technique he's got.
So is he too much of an odd-shaped toy?
I think he might be a bit. He's a bit too much to handle, I think. But again, it kind of depends which cowboy turns up. Do you know what I mean? Like, who knows?
I feel sometimes he's a bit too comfortable with not winning. He doesn't like losing, but he's not bothered about not winning. Like, he doesn't have that, I am going to stop you taking this from me. He's like, well, you got me. It was a good shot.
This was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he might. It's tough to say with him, but I think he might have a little bit too much for Randy.
Yeah, I think he performs to his ability. It's a problem. It's a problem for Randy. I think he's a bit too chaotic, and Randy's got a great straight attack game. Straight punches and kicks, and he can utilize them. But also, Alex Oliveira is quite tall and rangy himself, isn't he? And the problem with straight attacks is that you've got to be sure that your opponent's going to stay in that line. The benefit in sweeping attacks is that you can cover a bit more distance, and they might move into it. If they move away, then you might catch them up. Whereas a straight attack that misses just misses.
Yeah,
and that might be Randy Brown might find himself throwing jabs over Oliveira's shoulders all night.
Interesting.
This is a fruity one, isn't it? Anthony Smith fruity. Against Jimmy Crute.
Yeah.
34-16.
Yeah, been around, isn't he?
Against 12-1.
Yeah, but do you feel like they're similar? There's a few years between them, but they're similar in some ways.
I think they're similar. Yes, I do. I do absolutely, and I think that obviously Anthony Smith's got a vast amount of experience, but I do feel like you could say, okay, well, half of those fights equate to a lot of the experience that Jimmy Crute would have had in training. Because it was almost like Anthony Smith fought MMA before he knew what MMA was. Like, he picked up a flyer in a subway about cage fighting. He went along, they were an opponent short, and he put his hand up.
Wow.
And the interesting conversation I had with him is, it's ever since he felt that moment where he was scared and he was walking in there,
can't leave it alone.
He's been trying to find it again.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been able to. And he thought that John Jones was going to be able to give it him, and it wasn't. And that's why he was so deflated when he fought
caught in the headlights of it, didn't he?
No, I don't think it was that. Honestly, I don't think it was that. Like, I spoke to him a couple of times afterwards.
Oh, he was underawed by him.
Underawed by him. He was like, how
can you be underawed by standing across from John Jones?
Because I don't think John Jones really hit him with anything that like surprised him or hurt him even if he got hit with something and it hurt, he was like, well, that hurt the right amount.
Right.
You know what I mean? I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but he just...
Was he expecting superhero strength or something?
I just think he was hoping to be intimidated by John Jones, and when he stood across from him, I don't think he felt much less than John Jones as a human being. If that makes sense.
He got beaten up then, though.
Oh, he did get beaten up. Yeah, absolutely. But he also didn't do anything.
So you obviously know Anthony. I don't know him, but he's like, when I listen to him talk and then I watch him perform, I'm like, it's not the same guy. Like, all those things you were talking about, do that because you completely understand this sport. Like, I love listening to him, and then you just can't quite put all those things in place.
Mate, when he sat down in front of us fight week before he fought Shogun, and he was like, as soon as he started talking, I'm like, who's this guy? This isn't the guy I've been researching. The guy that's just like some kind of wild man. Yeah. Like, I didn't expect him to have the same kind of the level of comprehension that he does. Yeah. Like, he's a deep thinker. He understands the game, the ebb and the flow of it. He understands the tools that he brings to the table. He just doesn't always apply it. And I think that sometimes he just loses a bit of focus. And I think he wants to feel that adrenaline and that fear. Yeah. And I think that's when he's at his best. I mean, you can imagine that burglar that broke into his house. Shit out of him, can you imagine? Yeah. Like, if John Jones broke into Anthony Smith's house in the middle of the night, that's a hell of a fight. Maybe that's how we start doing it. Maybe we'll do like home invasion FC. There you go. Yeah. I just, I think that I think it's all about how he feels about his opponent, and I think because Anthony Smith's not in a great place at the moment, like career-wise, like he's slipped a little bit, hasn't he? Like, I mean, I know he's got that. Yeah.
He was like he was coming, wasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, and I still think he's got the potential. I don't think he's. I mean, he's got 16 losses on his record. I don't think he's down and out, and I don't think he's easy to defeat mentally. I think it's a case of having a couple of good performances and rallying back around himself, finding his confidence, and having another run.
He feels like one of these guys to me that if it clicked, everyone is in trouble.
Yeah.
Like if he could just string those, like.
But it did though, didn't it? Like it looked like it clicked. Like when he fought.
And then he got to Jones. I suppose it did click, and then he got his title shot. Was underwhelmed by it.
But then came back and beat Gustafsson.
Yeah.
Which but then like losing to Glover Teixeira. That is Glover Teixeira. That's who he is and what he does. Like you can
he's elite at doing that.
Yeah. It's funny because Glover Teixeira, Glover has become baseline MMA for me. If me and V are discussing something and we're talking about a particular fighter, I'm like, he's brilliant at that range, but he just needs Glover Teixeira. He needs that foundation of, well, I can move forward with my head off the centre line and I can hit a good jab cross and a hook, and I've got a level change and a power double and a single leg and a really strong basic jiu-jitsu game.
Yeah, I control the shit out of you on that from top position.
That's it.
Yeah.
And if you're fighting Glover Teixeira, you can crack him, you can knock him down, you can break his nose, you can cut him up, and he goes back to my Glover Teixeira foundation.
Yeah.
And look at what he did to Thiago Santos. There aren't many times I get it bang on in War Room. That one was bang on.
If you're teeing me up to say, you get it right all the time.
I'm not.
It's not happening.
No, because it's just MMA's chaotic and that's how it is. But that was it's just like the fight this weekend. The War Room was easy to do because it was obvious what was going to happen. When someone fights Glover Teixeira, you either knock him out or he's going to glove you.
He's going to grind you to death. Yeah.
He's going to big brother you. He's going to take you down. He's going to beat you up. He's going to choke you out, and that's what he does. And that's
it's not a bad it's not from a coaching point of view. It's right, level one, we've got to get Glover Teixeira into you.
Exactly.
Right. Okay, you've got Glover Teixeira level. Right, now we can look at some of this more fancier and more advanced stuff up here. But we want everyone in the gym. We need you to be able to Glover Teixeira when you need to. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Think about this, for example. Imagine Jake Paul comes into the gym. He's 3-0 professional boxing, just knocked out a former MMA champion.
Yeah.
And now he's decided he wants to turn to MMA. Okay.
That's the problem with gobshites. That would never happen.
Yeah, but I'm not.
Okay.
I'm just
hypothetically speaking, if that was he wasn't a gobshite and he got the bug for MMA.
That's it. The point is that he's 24. If you can give him 2 or 3 years of hard, focused Glover Teixeira foundation training, then unleash him upon the local MMA scene, the guy's going to put a dent in it.
You know who we should Glover Teixeira up?
Who's that? Everyone.
Well, everyone.
The whole world.
Just blanked on his name.
Well, why do you think about that? I'm gonna take a quick. Oh shit, card's full.
Oh no, since when?
I don't know.
Oh no.
Not, I checked it a little while ago. We're at. Hang on, let me go to the top. I'll delete some stuff and we'll pick up balance. Sorry about that.
Whoops.
The memory card ran out, and I'm just not very good at these things. I was never born.
Where are the Raptors? We've got one back now. They'll be back soon.
Once he's released from quarantine. Okay, we'll just jump straight back in at the Anthony Smith Jimmy Crute one because you didn't make a prediction for this one, and we're hoping that Amy can recover the audio from the iPhone because it sounded all right.
It sounded
pretty
good.
We apologise, but we're like I said, we're not very good.
Amy will sort it out. She's the audio specialist.
Anthony Smith, Jimmy Crute. Make your pick, and then let's talk about Chris Weidman and Uriah.
Well, it's a big test for Jimmy, isn't it? It is a big test. It's a big step up. You can clearly see what's happening. This will be a huge name for him if he can win it. And he was great against Bukowskis last time out. I thought he'd shown some improvements in his game.
Yep.
Because that was a tricky fight.
Same when he fought Alex Shayjuk. The thing is with Jimmy Crute is he's got Dan Kelly and
Sam Greco
in his corner, and they're both wealths of knowledge, and they both understand MMA as well, so they can put their knowledge into him. And
This is the young bull's first big test. Big test.
Yeah,
I think I think everyone else he's fought is.
I mean, maybe Serkinov. Maybe Serkinov was up there. You know, Serkinov he's one of those kind of benchmark guys, isn't he? And he didn't quite manage to get past that. But I mean, he's got other good wins on his record. But it's his last two in particular have been the most impressive. Because Oleg Shevchenko, although he's undersized for light heavyweight, he's a smart, heavy-handed fighter. That he's good at, cutting people down, and he got caught in a Kimura in that one. And then Modestus is a tall, rangy Cage Warriors champion, difficult guy to face. The difficult thing here with Anthony Smith is that he's a wily veteran. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's been in there with the best in the world, literally.
Yeah.
So John Jones to Jimmy
if he puts
Crute,
him on his back. What's Jimmy got from that position?
Yeah.
I think
Jimmy's going to be difficult for Anthony Smith to take down.
Yeah.
And I think Jimmy's going to be slightly faster than Anthony Smith on the feet, but I don't think his striking's got quite the diversity. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, Anthony Smith will be throwing front kicks up the centre, but Jimmy Smith will be, basic boxing combinations, chopping low kicks. He's going to be very strong in the clinch. But Anthony Smith, if he takes him down, might be able to wear on him and use that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu experience to cause him issues.
Do you think Anthony's got if they keep it standing, Anthony's got the precision and the tricks to lure Jimmy into getting caught?
I think his best option is probably to return to those elbows that he uses so well. I mean, his close range punches are really well. So as long as he's controlling the centre and keeping Jimmy backed up against the fence, he might be able to pepper him and walk him onto something. But I do think his best route to attack is probably to take him down the first round. And I can see him in like crossbody control, like turtle position, just like controlling his wrist and beating him up, and Jimmy just kind of accepting being there and being frustrated.
Yeah.
Like that's a way I can see Anthony Smith winning this fight. But I also can see Jimmy Crute just boxing clever.
I just feel like Crute's on. He's almost exponentially getting better.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why he's got Anthony Smith, right? This is his next test.
Exactly.
I think he might edge it.
Yeah,
I think he might edge it. Yeah. Tough. Like Smith's just been in there with so many incredible names. He's just sort of seen it all.
Yeah. I'm going to lean towards Anthony Smith. I can see him maybe getting a rear naked choke in this one or something. I just think his ground experience. I mean, that's a lot of fights. I mean, it's 50 fights, isn't it, compared to 13.
All right, let's see. I'll go with the young bull. Okay. You go with the experience.
Chris Weidman against Uriah Hall.
Why aren't I excited about this? Are you excited about it?
No, not really.
I'm just not. I don't know why particularly, other than maybe they're both coming towards the latter stage of their career. I'm just not blown away by it. I
mean, the thing, like Weidman's peaked, if we're honest. Like we've seen his best performances, and I mean, he ended Anderson Silva's
He was the man
reign,
for a couple of years, wasn't he?
Absolutely. But like people forget that those Anderson Silva fights were 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
Like we all think of Chris Weidman and think, oh well, he's one of the younger guys in the division. He's had
a rough 6 years.
He's had a
really rough 6 years.
And you know where it all went wrong was that spinning kick against Luke Rockhold. That was the point where it all fucking fell apart for him, because he was winning that fight.
But he's never thrown a spin kick since.
Never.
He's like,
he'd never thrown one before, that was for sure. But after that point, he never got back into that fight, and it allowed Rockhold to get in and get the belt off him. And then after that, Yoel Romero flying knee, which just about separated him in two. Then he fought Musashi, who was incredibly difficult to fight, and that was that controversial, was his hand down, etc., etc. Yeah. Win over Gastelum, but losses to Souza and to Dominic Reyes at 205. He popped up
to light heavyweight to see what that felt like, and then he's come back down to middleweight to fight
Akhmedov, who was a former welterweight. I mean, he's a good wrestler, but a decision over Akhmedov doesn't do a lot for Chris Weidman's reputation.
Like when he beat Myers, Munoz, called out Anderson Silva, beat Anderson Silva again. Like he was everywhere, wasn't he? He was just like he was just the boy.
He had his moment. He had his moment, absolutely. And Uriah Hall coming off the Ultimate Fighter, Like, I mean, he had that viral knockout with that spinning head kick, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like, people were all over Uriah, like he was going to be able to do that to everybody. And what was unfair on him, I think, as well, is that, like, everybody at that point was like, so who's the next Anderson Silva? You know,
And it got put on your eye, didn't it?
It got put on him, you know, really and he lost to Gastelum by split decision. That was a big upset, and then lost to John Howard straight after.
Was Dana on the train? Was it Dana that was like super pushing him? He just came out and he was
Dana
like,
kept talking about the knockout.
This is the next one, man. Yeah. This is the next one.
He kept talking about the knockout on the series.
It just didn't happen that way, did it? It just didn't quite come through that way.
But he's on an old guys tour now, isn't he? He's just beaten Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
I actually have not watched that fight. It's one of the very few fights recently I've not watched because I just don't need to. And I kind of don't need to see this either because Weidman's past his best. And
maybe that's it. Maybe that's why I'm just not.
Yeah.
I'm just not that excited, or the context of everything else that's on this card. It's just a bit like, oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is with Uriah, he's got some really, really good skills. But there are small windows of time in the fight where he can apply them because he doesn't have Glover Teixeira.
Yeah.
He doesn't control the. I hope that got picked up on the phone because otherwise you're going to think we're fucking talking nonsense.
He's slowing down a touch too, and he's not as sharp as he was.
And I think back to that Musashi win that he got. You know, that spinning back kick. That's a good example of, like, he threw a jump spinning back kick, caught Musashi right in the side of the face as he was level changing, and everyone was like, "Oh, we're going to need to try that one again." Like, that shouldn't have happened. Musashi should have beaten you know? So then, like, he came into, was it UFC 204? It was around that same time. Anyway, he came back into that next fight and he was just pissed off. He was just angry because it was like, wait, he come off 2 losses as well, just stopped by Derek Brunson. But he can be dangerous. And I think to Chris Weidman, he is going to be dangerous. I could see him catching Chris Weidman with a head kick, with a sharp knees to the body and stop him with elbows.
I can see him winning it.
Yeah,
I'm just so vanilla about which way it goes. Yeah, I can see him winning, but you can see Chris sort of grinding. Like, Chris has a good fundamentals game.
Yeah,
he could probably hang with him standing. He could probably wrestle him and put him on his back and beat him up.
He's at great risk standing. Weidman is.
He's at great risk.
He's at great risk standing. Yeah. There are a lot of ways into his game for Uriah Hall. It's why Anderson Silva wasn't taking him seriously, because he didn't feel like he could get touched.
He's coming out of Serra Longo. Do you know what I mean? You'd think, yeah.
But
we'll try and get mystery. We'll try and get mystery down to.
For sure, yeah. They're a great bunch of guys. But I mean, the Serra Longo team, they're not known for finesseful strikers. I mean, if you look at the guys that are coming out of there, back in the day, Matt Serra, Pete Sell, Jan Valenti, Alaya Quinta, they're all bangers. They're all guys that are face first.
Tough Jersey.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the culture in the environment, in the gyms that they're training in. And Chris Weidman's, he's got finesse in his games to points, but it's when he's got his hands on his opponent. Like, the reason he knocked out Anderson Silva was A, because Anderson was underestimating him, and B, because he got told to punch a hole in his fucking chest. He kept stepping through with his feet. Yeah, that's the trick.
I remember that so vividly.
Like Anderson Silva falling in slow motion. Yeah.
What just happened?
And then the second time around, where everyone was like, "Oh, what's going to happen this time? It's not going to be as crazy as the last time." Oh,
well. I illegally streamed that and it cut out just as he threw the kick. Literally just as he threw the kick, it just cut out. I was like, oh, what's everyone going on about? Yeah. I think Chris will grind that out.
Yeah. I actually think Uriah's going to take that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. People have been asking for my predictions on the comments a bit more. I don't know why. It's not like I'm going to be any more right than Ollie, and he's wrong all the time. So,
well, that's why you just keep going the opposite. And now you're going to look great.
Okay, we're into title fights now.
Okay, so now I'm excited.
I can legitimately talk for 2 hours on these 3 fights. Let's just make sure everything's... Yeah, we're still recording.
Now I'm excited.
I hope Amy can fix that thing.
She will. I believe.
I'm just not meant to be a raptor. Okay. Right. First of all, tell me why this fight's below the strawweight championship.
Don't know.
Can't figure that one out.
Don't know.
But then they've loaded the prelims with Chinese talent. So maybe they've bumped Zhang Weili up higher on the card. You know, as a salute to China and to the Chinese fans.
To the money, to the money.
The money, yeah. Of course.
They salute money.
I say fans, I mean dollars.
Yeah, they. I wonder. I think they've done a Chinese deal, network TV deal. I think I'm not sure, like timeline wise, where that is, but I'm pretty sure they're on free to air in China, and I would imagine this will be on that
for sure. And that wouldn't have looked good if the person that Zhang Weili beat for the belt in seconds is above her on the card fighting for another belt.
Potentially,
that's a good point. But they did Photoshop my tattoo off when I was fighting GSP.
That would have caused all kinds of problems.
All kinds of trouble. There'd have been riots in the streets.
Yeah.
For seconds before
they would have a pirate commune in China if that had happened. The regime would have fallen. What a weird species.
The world's crazy, isn't it?
It's crazy. It is. You end up burying your head and not listening to it.
I can't help but feel we're going in the wrong direction.
No, it's like that. It's like that swing, in it. You have to go all the way one way to come back the other way to find somewhere that's
militant veganism all the way through to carnivore diet.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you go back to keto on the opposite side.
Yeah, and then you swing a little bit. Eat a little bit of everything.
Balance.
Balance everything out. Don't eat too much and exercise. Okay, sweet.
Yeah. I'm still working on that balance myself, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But I'm only 38. I mean, when
I thought this was a consultation for a second then.
Trying to get free information out of you.
She's amazing, isn't she? Shevchenko.
Oh, yeah. I thought Lady Gaga, for whatever reason, I thought you were going to go off on your tangent about how much of a big fan you are.
Lady Gaga?
Yeah, I know you're a big fan of Lady Gaga.
What?
Go on.
I actually watched with my daughter, The Star is Born last night. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
I think you'd like it.
Would I? Yeah.
Yeah, I think you really would like it. Yeah, surprisingly, having Lady Gaga and you liking something in the same sentence. But I do think you'd really like it. You should watch it.
Did you see that reaction of with The Rock? He had his daughter on his knee and they were watching Aquaman. That was funny. It's on his Instagram. Yeah, I saw Wad and Ollie and Owen had both liked it.
Oh, nice.
But it was like he was sitting there with his daughter on his knee and he was like, yeah, it's pretty awesome in the Aquaman. She's like,
he's in reasonable shape.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay.
Yeah,
yes. Valentina Shevchenko is absolutely spectacular. She's very smart in the way that she applies her fights, which made it very frustrating when I was doing Inside the Octagon trying to build playlists on her. The difficult thing.
You were doing what?
What?
What? Which show?
When I was working on Inside the Octagon, that old show that
previously.
Yeah. Hammering the nails into that coffin. They
still going.
I think so, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think so. I don't know. I mean, I'm
go
not.
On, carry on. Playlists. She's difficult.
It was so difficult to build playlists with Valentina Shevchenko because with a playlist, you're trying to find the highlights of each round. And the best and worst thing about her game is that there are no highlights. It's consistent all the way through.
I do know what I'm going on about.
Like, she manages range very well. She's got a nice variety of attacks, but she doesn't waste any energy. She's not throwing unnecessary stuff.
So we call her spectacular, but she's not actually spectacular, right? She's just really good and really competent with, she has some great straight punches and she sort of layers stuff on there, but she's not like wildly spectacular, is she? I know she has some spinning attacks and whatever, but it's still grounded in some very fundamentally good skills, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. She's got the Glover Teixeira and she's also got
now
a sprinkling
she's layered some stuff on, yeah.
She's got a sprinkling of other stuff as well. She's a very skilled and talented fighter. And there's a blueprint for how to beat Jéssica Andrade. It doesn't mean it's any easier to do. And I think this is the right weight class for her. Because if you think she was a bantamweight, she was throwing around fighters like Raquel Pennington. She moved all the way down to strawweight because flyweight didn't exist for women. And now she's gone back up after being the champ. Like, that's a 20-pound drop. It's a massive amount of weight for her to lose. And she was in incredible shape at strawweight. But you've got to think, half a training camp must have been about getting in that shape.
And shape as in body composition, not even like fighting shape.
Exactly. She's always going to be in good condition. It's actual weight is the challenge, the focus. But then like that first fight that she had at flyweight against Chikagian, who was just coming off her title shot, and she wrecked her much quicker than Shevchenko did. Like body shot, folded her.
Yeah.
that's the untangible. It's that's the.
She's so hard. Valentina's just so hard to get hold of, though. Like you can't pin her down in space. And
it'll be a bigger octagon this time around.
Yeah.
I bet. You know, that's another thing to consider. But then, you know, the other interesting part of this is when they do lock up, it's not simple for either lady. Like, Shevchenko's got great overhooks and hip throws. She's got great inside and outside trips and reaps. Andrade is constantly going to be trying to lift her up above her head.
Yeah. And Valentina, sometimes she comes in and she's like, da. And if she just one commitment there, and she's just going to get ducked under and doubled.
It's the same thing, and weirdly enough, Zhang Weili's in a similar situation, but differently, because Rose is all about clamping on to jump on the back and rear naked choke. The vulnerability is still the same, because Shevchenko and Zhang Weili both throw spinning kicks a lot of the time. A lot more so for Zhang Weili, and she does miss a lot of the time as well. But in that fight against Rose, if she's spinning and Rose is stepping in, she's going to be body locked and climbing up and trying to choke her.
Yeah.
Shevchenko might find Andrade on the back just trying to suplex her. And anybody can land awkward on the back side of your head and get knocked out. I mean, we saw it happen to Rose.
Yeah.
And I feel like Andrade had the horsepower at bantamweight. She was ridiculously strong as a strawweight. I think now she's in the Goldilocks zone. She's just right. You know, she's right. She's in that place where she's got the right.
She's right there in the Bermuda Triangle again.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, man. My gut is Valentina is too competent at the things that make the biggest difference. And she's hard to get hold of, and I do think she's going to get in some trouble if Andrade can get hold of her. I do think she'll be in some trouble, but I think she's very elusive and she's very smart, and she seems. My perception is that she gets this game. She gets how to move. She gets how to move her opponents. She just gets it, and when you get it, when it clicks, it's that's why you're the champ over a long period of time.
That head kick setup that she used against Jéssica that's one thing that stands out in my mind, again, because this is Southpaw v Orthodox. I don't know what's going on with that. This is Southpaw v Orthodox. Jéssica Andrade, she's aggressive, she's in a straight line, she'll chase you around instead of cutting you off, and she's reckless in her attack, which means that it's not particularly calculated. So she's probably not even going to have the comprehension of the calculation of Shevchenko. So the longer she spends at distance, the more danger she's got of leaving herself open in ways that she's probably not realising. Yeah. And that's the good thing about Shevchenko, as well as that straight attack, because, Andrade does come in quite square. Yeah.
Like you want to a degree, you want to be relaxed. So you're not holding too much tension and burning the energetic cost to that. But Valentina has this posture where she's like stiff. Like if you drop a golf ball on a hard surface, she just like pings off the floor. That's how she moves. It's like she's so elastic, and when she moves in and out, it's just like ping, ping, ping.
Is there a word for that?
Well, elasticity,
But it's like a torque, isn't it? It's like
but torque is like...
It's like a preparedness.
It's movement around a joint. Do you know what I mean? Like reactivity. So she's very reactive. She has,
It's like she's loaded like a catapult.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's like
at any point,
the spring's always sort of crushed. So you're just waiting for it to let it go. Yeah.
And like Zhang Weili, I know we keep bouncing back and forth, but I feel like she's a lot like that as well. Like she is quite relaxed, but at the same time, there's a tension in her frame.
There's definitely tension,
which you don't see in Rose. Rose is more. She does what Masvidal does. Like she bounces in and out with a long range stance, but then she'll drift side to side and then bounce in and out again. Like there's a lot of similarities in these top three fights and the way that they play out. Like Shevchenko's got to do the same thing to Andrade as Whittaker did to Gastelum this weekend, just outside of striking range, because then before Andrade can do anything, she has to step forward. She's got to cover that distance. She's got to do something to cover that distance. Now,
I can see that going down that way. That's a
she'll just make a chase. Yeah. And she'll peel off and run away. And then she'll peel off and run away. Then the third time she'll stand the ground and go bam, 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 bam. Yeah. Inside trip takedown, and then maybe even disengage. But I think the transition to the ground is the danger for Shevchenko. I think once she's there, she's all over Andrade again.
Okay.
It's the transition is the dangerous part. Same with Rose. Like, Rose can keep her at a distance if she's not too overzealous, as we saw in the first round when they fought. But when she clamped onto that Kimura trap, it was the third time it happened and she was lifted. Like, that's the danger for Andrade, is the transition into close range. Same with Chukagian. She was closing her down. Bam, 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 bam.
Yeah, the more I think about that, I think Shevchenko, that's how it's going to play out. She's going to Whittaker it, and she's going to stay close enough to tempt you, but she's just out of range. She'll just pick her apart.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously she could get that wrong, and then she ends up on her back with Andrade on top. But I would think that my pick would definitely be Valentina via that strategy. I think
it's definitely her fight to lose. But the reason why it's interesting is because it's like, well, she's got to be on point, on a game, accurate, not overextending herself for 25 minutes. And Andrade can fight hard for 25 minutes. Yeah. It's not like she's going to fade. Like, that's something that, Usman can use against Masvidal, because Masvidal does fade in 25 minutes, but Andrade doesn't seem to.
No. And without that stress of the weight cut down to that crazy weight she was trying at, you'd think she'd be topped up and good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think Shevchenko is going to pepper her from a distance. I think in grappling exchanges, as long as she's safe on the way to the floor, she'll be fine when she gets there.
Yeah, I'd be surprised to see that,
Yeah.
Surprised to see it another way.
This next one's far more competitive in Zhang Weili and Rose. But again, like, there are similarities because Rose has kind of got to do what Shevchenko does, but Zhang Weili's considerably more technical and dangerous than Andrade.
This is a much closer fight, right?
Much closer. Yeah. And I got a good question on the War Room about the difference in power between the two. And I don't. I mean, you can correct me because you've got the sports science background, but it doesn't seem to me like there's necessarily a difference in power. It's just that they come from different ends of the power spectrum. So Zhang Weili is strong with a bit of speed, and Rose is fast with a bit of strength.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I wonder what a power output, like mechanical power output differences. Because, we talk about this all the time. It's irrelevant because timing, precision overrides it. But just in a mechanical sense, you would think Weili would maybe could produce more power. But yeah, you're right. She produces it a bit more mechanically, whereas Rose seems to produce it through
a bit more Kevin Holland, a bit more
whip. A bit more whip, a bit more momentum into it, and almost like a looser punch, isn't it?
Yeah. I think like Rose, like I said, has to do the same thing as Shevchenko, has to kind of do the same thing as Masvidal in some ways, but she has to do it on a much higher risk because like
margin for error is tiny.
For sure. Like Andrade's direct attack is dangerous and explosive, but once it's coming, it's on its way.
Yeah,
and you can dodge it or keep away from it if you've got the right footwork. With Zhang Weili, she'll happily stand her ground and trade as soon as you step into range, but she won't necessarily give chase.
Yeah.
So, like, the thing that Rose is going to be challenged with is getting around that inside lead leg. Because what it seems to me like Zhang Weili, although she stands orthodox the majority of the time, her left foot is her strongest foot.
Okay.
So she kind of stands like heavy on her rear foot, and then she skips and kicks with the lead leg. And then she'll skip and kick to the body. And if she misses, it comes straight back into a hop side kick. It's like she retracts and goes straight in with a side kick. Nice. Now that's something that could be problematic for Rose if she's trying to get Zhang to miss the low kick, because then she'll go in and out of range, miss the low kick, walk onto the side kick.
Yeah. She's a bit like the people's champ, Rose, isn't she? Like people,
little bit
proper lover.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, I'm siding a bit with Zhang Weili. I think. Yeah, I think razor thin, but I think overall, like if she was a top trumps card, she would just have the edge. She's just a little bit better at most things.
Yeah.
Apart from if Rose clamps on.
That's it, isn't it? It's the wacky races element of the top trumps card. You know,
Yeah.
it's the moment where Zhang's been cruising for 2 rounds and she's a bit comfortable and getting kind of bored and starts throwing back kicks. Throws 2, throws 3. Rose steps into 1, jumps on her back, and then like the other thing I like about Rose's rear naked choke is it's a difficult one to defend because it's palm to palm, and she forces it into place.
Yeah.
So then the hands that you're trying to fight are over your shoulder here.
Yeah.
It's much easier to grab the top hand and pull it
Drag
down
it
than it is to
2-on-1,
try and fight those. Plus, you're pulling at gloves, and the referee will warn you for that as well. You know, so you're kind of guarding
almost,
your grip with the gloves.
Yeah.
And you know, the one other thing you have to think about with Rose is that when Zhang's throwing her kick, she is on the centre line, and a few times fighters have kind of bulldozed over her because she's stayed quite central. And, you know, Rose could find a way through that. But like I said, the danger is if she misses the kick, goes straight into a side kick. And I could talk, like I said, I could talk for ages about this. I also think Zhang's ground game is massively underrated. I know we've not seen a great deal of it. She's got great outside trips as well. And it would do her well when she's clinched with Rose to keep her in front of her, because Rose taking the back is problematic. But Zhang body locks and trips. She's very effective with that. And
She looks crazy strong when she gets her hands together, doesn't she?
Very strong. And that little transition she had against Jéssica Aguilar, you know, she got a triangle from top position, rolled to her back, couple of elbows, and caught her with the...
Yeah.
It's a really tough fight to call, that is. It really is. I mean, Zhang's ahead on my stat card mainly because of experience. And I also think psychologically, you know, Rose has always got hurdles to jump when she comes to fight week anyway. And, you know...
Zhang just seems stoic. Like, she just doesn't seem bothered. She's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course this is what I'm doing. This is what I was made to do.
Yeah. And her one loss on her record was her first pro fight. Imagine that. Imagine losing your first pro fight and then going on a 21 fight win streak. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Which way are you going?
Zhang.
Oh, yeah.
Zhang Weili, yeah, I think so.
So Shevchenko, so both champs to maintain their belt.
Yeah.
Are you going into the main event with the same idea then?
No.
You think Masvidal's going to do it?
Yeah. I fucking love Masvidal.
Yeah, I do, but I still think it's going to go the same way as the last time.
Do you?
Yeah, I kind of
I don't watch the War Rooms, but I don't watch them because otherwise I'm just going to regurgitate what you've just said on the War Rooms.
Yeah.
But you know, we chatted before, we touched on it earlier. I love... So, like, they're almost opposites, right?
Yeah,
the two of them were, like, almost opposites. So, Jorge has this... I need to call him Jorge then. Hold on, I'm just transitioned a couple of generation there. Jorge has this, like, big personality, and he has this persona around him that he's obviously built, and he was, you know, a backyard YouTube sensation brawling with, like... You know, he's just as a youngster, like pretty much cleanly shaven and going. He's, you know, now he's in his Chanel robes and he's, you know, doing whatever. And he has, whether you sort of resonate with him or not, he has a persona, doesn't he? He's built a character. He's got, you know, he's got a character, and it sort of fools you into thinking that there isn't a really, really smart fight mind behind that, but there is, and he's. Yeah, I just think he's got so much experience on his resume, and there's probably double that underneath his resume that you're never going to see anyway.
For sure.
And I always say it's about pictures. You just keep seeing pictures until you understand the game. And I just get it. Like, there's nothing you can do I haven't seen at least once. Look, I've got all these fights. Like, I've seen everything. So, and then Kamaru. Part of me doesn't know why I don't sort of resonate with him a little bit, but he's just kind of he's a bit cheesy. He's a bit, you know, his persona is not as interesting, is it? It's not like...
It's not as palatable.
No, he's not as cool or whatever. I'm not sure what it is, but he's not...
But I think that's partly because Masvidal is who he is, and he's not really bothered if you don't like him.
Yeah.
Whereas I kind of feel like I don't know. I mean, they're very different fighters, aren't they? They both seem to be coming to the same thing for the same reason. I think Masvidal's more money driven now because he's realised that he's got
it's
to
finite
make it
and
pay.
I need to,
he's got to. And for me, there was a shift when he did that reality TV show. Like, it just, like, he came off the back end of that, and it was just like, oh, I just need to live life and have fun.
Yeah.
And it transferred into his game in you know, quite a noticeable way. But like you said, the gaming and the, you know, like he had a fucking poncho on in Mexico City and a big hat, looked like a bandito. It was wicked.
He's just having a laugh, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just having a good time. So it's like,
seems,
you can't blame him because you can't take him too seriously. But that's a part of his game.
Yeah.
It's a part of his bluff.
Yeah.
Like, you don't take him too seriously.
Like Jorge is an out and out fighter who has learned athleticism and he's bolted on skills to amplify his fighting over time. And then you've got Kamaru, who's an athlete who has added some fighting skills outside of wrestling. Obviously, you know, he was, you know, in extensive wrestling background. He's bolted on some skills to the point that even last time out, he seemed like he'd amplified that jab, like something we hadn't really seen from him, as competent as he was.
Yeah.
But I don't. But the little bit that Jorge has, that out and out fight bit, like Kamaru is an incredible competitor. I'm not sure he's an out and out fighter. Do you know what I mean? And that's not to say one is better than the other. You know, it takes a mix to bring these guys together.
But I don't know. I don't know whether Kamaru knows whether he's got that in him because I mean, he's 18-1, and that one loss on his record. I think it was Alex Caceres' brother. I think he was 3-3 at the time, and I'm sure I've watched the fight. Anyway, it was one of those kind of things that as soon as it happened, Usman was like, that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah,
that fight was made. That fight was there for me to beat this guy, and he didn't. And it was probably just a really silly slip up that he, you know, it kind of haunts him. But 18-1 is like, that's a record of control. That's a person that fights out of a good point of control, and so he might not have ever needed to have been in the trenches. Yeah. Like even when he had that fight with Colby Covington, that was a bloody fight. He wasn't really damaged. He wasn't really hurt by anything that Colby did. Yeah. Like, at no point has he really had to dig deep. Like, cardiovascular wise, maybe a couple of times, but for the majority of the time, he's just shut people down. Yeah. And he's been in such control that, like, the control has overridden the need for anything else. It's like Askren's grappling skills have overridden the need to be a decent boxer.
Striking, yeah. Do you think the animosity between him and Jorge might bring that out? Like, he's clearly like, right, motherfucker, you know, there's no excuses this time.
No.
Let's have it, and then shut your mouth.
Not at all.
Not reckon.
Not at all. I don't. And it was a beauty in Usman's game that I hadn't discovered before the Gilbert Burns fight. Because I was too focused on the fan in me, which is a little bit just bleed, and a little bit like, I can see you're just holding him now. Like, either take him down or either break. Don't hold him there and stamp his feet. Like, there's a part of me that is watching the fucking screen, throwing popcorn at it. Like, I didn't pay for this. I mean, I didn't pay for it anyway, but that's beside the point. You know what I mean? It's like, there's a bit of me, and when I'm watching him, I get that. I understand why people feel like that, because even if you can't fight and you're not, you know, you don't have those skills, like, you can tell when somebody else is not wanting to fight, and that's where it's frustrating. And when someone's got absolute control over someone, absolute control is impressive to a point where you stop doing something with it, and that's where it gets frustrating. Yeah. And like when he fought Emil Mek and he just dominated him for 15 minutes, Mek was angry, he was frustrated, wasn't particularly hurt, he was a little bit bloodied. Yeah. But like, that was the fight where Usman went to the mic and he's going, I'm a problem, and he kept repeating the same thing, and then he's like, that was 30%. I'm like, well, give us a bit more then.
Yeah.
Like, if you give
us 60, you got to finish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's always the story in his corner going into the 5th round. Like, you listen to Henry Hooft when he fought RDA. Like, he beat the snot out of RDA for 20 minutes, and his corner team were going, finish him. Yeah. Go and get a finish. And in moments where he had him up against the fence and he was like, I could break and strike here, he's exhausted, he's small, he's, you know, the fight's gone out of him, I could let him wail on my face right now and he's not have the power anymore to hurt me, I'll take him down. You know what I mean? It's like,
even the fact that the corner would have to say that to him probably tells you enough. Do you know what I mean? It was
just too safe.
Yeah, of course I'm going to go out and finish him.
Right.
That's what I'm here for.
Exactly. Like, that's the bit where, like, Masvidal has that chip regardless. And when he comes out in the first round against Usman, he fights like I've got the finish. I can finish him. Yeah. Whack, whack, whack.
Man, that first minute of that.
It's not even a minute,
fight.
Mate. It's 15 seconds. It's 15 seconds. He was on his back at 4:46.
Oh, really? Is that how long it was? Felt like he must have thrown like about 20 strikes in that.
He threw 5 or 6 kicks, but Usman caught one.
Yeah.
And took him down. But then, like the other thing that Masvidal was very good at, and bear in mind how much experience he's got, is he knows how to play the MMA game, and that's a good counter to Usman because Usman's a good competitor. So Usman's going to go 5 portions of 5 minutes. This is my game plan for each one of these portions. This is how I'm going to beat him. And if the finish presents itself, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think his confidence might be a bit higher given the fact that he's just stopped Gilbert Burns. But that's the reason why the psychology doesn't play in. Because he was just dead stone cold with Gilbert Burns. There was no emotion towards him at all. And I don't think Masvidal would get a rise out of him in any way. I think Burns would be a tougher test for him than Masvidal to keep himself together.
Yeah.
See, the thing is with Masvidal, like you said, he's got that dog in him that, like, as soon as there's a bit of space, he's going to try and take a chunk out of you. But the moments in the fight are going to be fractions of each 5 minutes where he's got an opportunity to do that. And the rest of it is going to be a bit held up against the fence or defending takedowns up against the fence.
Yeah, and it just wears that pop out of him, doesn't it? That pop is the thing that will get him the finish.
Like if he can, like the conditioning that he came in with in the last one, I know like 6 days notice and everyone was saying he was training, etc. It's not the same though, is it?
No.
Like you're not going to do those track sprints or those hill sprints, or you're not going to dig into that 25-minute gas tank that you need to and hollow your lungs out for that. It's just you. I think you have to have the carrot get dangling in order to get that out of you. Sometimes I think there are a few maniacs out there. Don't get me wrong, that just live on that vibe. But fighters ebb and flow, and a fight takes so much out of you, especially when you've had 50-odd fights like Masvidal has. I think it gets to the stage where you're like, the fight's not mine. Okay, let me pull back a little bit and manage himself. So that fight wasn't his until a week before.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at that first round and how quickly he faded in the first round, if he can take those moments where he was able to break with an elbow and caught him with a couple of kicks, if he can extend those fractions into the following rounds and play that, I'm not going to win on points, but I might hurt him bad.
Yeah.
That's where it gets interesting for Masvidal.
I can see him like...
Yeah, but you're dreaming.
Whoa. All right, I'm on my way. I can just see him opening him up. I can see him finding space to open him up a little bit, and then what's it going to look like? Then what are we going to see? We're going to see, Usman find the anger and come after him, or what? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm being fanciful, but.
The thing. If I'm Masvidal, there are ways into Usman's game, but he's got to set him up, and he's got to create those opportunities like he did against Darren Till, like level change, so forcing Darren Till to put his arms out, and then level change and throw a hook over the top. Like he built that narrative in that fight. The problem against Usman is that he's going to close you down, so you're up against the fence, not having time to set those traps in place. So like the burst attacks that he's got are, I've got to be more reactive in the moment because I've only got a short window of time before I'm clamped onto him against the fence again.
Kamaru probably doesn't respect his wrestling enough to flinch to a fate, does he?
I don't think so. And I think if Masvidal decides that he's gonna feint, Usman's gonna know for sure that it's gonna be a strike.
Yeah.
Because why would he grapple?
Yeah,
I mean, you can like Colby Covington decided not to grapple against Usman because it would have been a waste of time.
Yeah. Right. Well,
I could literally talk about this fight for days. It is fascinating, but like their records, their reputations, their style of fighting is so synonymous from the different. It's like Zhang Weili's on one end of the power spectrum, the strength end, and Rose is on the speed end.
Both got it.
Both have got it.
Comes a different way.
Exactly. But then in a different way, Usman's on the control end of the spectrum and Masvidal's on the chaos end of the spectrum. So you've got Usman coming through high school collegiate wrestling, which is all about control, and you've got Masvidal fighting unlicensed fights in backyards, which is ultimate chaos.
Yeah, isn't it?
You know,
what a great story to come to the top.
Yeah, and they've had 25 minutes against one another, and they both got tired. But the reason that Usman got tired is because we know now his game plan was not to wrestle and clinch, because he was supposed to be fighting Gilbert Burns. And that was a fantastic performance.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
It's one of the most... He's probably got the best straight punching in mixed martial arts right now, Usman.
But that's crazy. He can have developed that, seemingly upskilled that so fast, because we haven't really seen that. Not to that degree, not to that sharpness and accuracy. No,
we haven't. But at the same time, like throughout his career, we have seen it. Like he put Sergio Moraes down with a straight right against the fence, and it was a bit smothered and a bit chaotic, which is why people didn't really appreciate it. But then Damian Maia as well dropped Damian Maia with a straight right against the fence, and Damian Maia was just slightly out of range, which is why the knockout didn't stick. But it's like he's been finding his range, and it's not quite been there, but he's also not allowed himself to test it, because he's been fighting guys that are, dangerous, dangerous grapplers, dangerous strikers. I mean, Damian Maia and Gilbert Burns were the only two guys that he really wanted to roll the dice on with his striking. All the rest of the guys he clinched, apart from Colby, obviously, but that was really where we started to see his straight punching shine through. But
the jab is
it's amazing,
deadly,
and it's ambidextrous.
Yeah.
But the limitation to it is that the reason that you can't see it coming is because the punch is chambered. But the way around it, like I was talking about with Shevchenko, teasing range, and exactly what Whittaker did against Gastelum. If he forces Usman to step to punch, that's a tell that's much more easier to spot than his hand leaving his shoulder.
Yeah, so he's just gonna have to play on the edge of that range and tempt him forward.
Yeah.
Man, I can't wait for the ride along. It's gonna be fun, isn't it? Picking this apart.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Are you going with Masvidal then, just because you're a dreamer?
I am going with Masvidal.
Yeah. See, I think it's gonna be very similar to the first fight. I think Usman might find opportunities to use his straight punching later in the rounds. But I think he's going to come and compete. I think he comes and competes.
I mean, he's the best around at competing, right?
Yeah.
Because of his history and because of his skills. Yeah.
And this is where, like, it's interesting, because you go like, right, well, like if Askren was fighting Jake Paul in an MMA fight, Askren would have been all over Jake Paul, no doubt.
Probably would have ended in the same time frame.
Yeah. Exactly. It would have been the opposite way around. But then if you take Usman out of a controlled environment, a sporting environment, and put him in a fight situation, like these guys are throwing down in the changing rooms of a gym or a bar, that's when Masvidal, that's when his internal qualities come to the surface. And I'm not saying necessarily he'd win, but in those circumstances, you're not holding somebody against the wall in the bar for 5 minutes unless you're waiting for the police to arrive. Do you know what I mean? It's like if it's a fight, Masvidal's biting you and headbutting you, and get away with what he can. But in a sporting environment, because there are limitations to that dogged fighting mentality, competitors show through, and Usman's ability to compete is why his jab is so accurate. Because like you get a beginner and you go hit that pad. There's two ways they're going to do it. They either go and put their hand on it and don't pull it back, or they go and try and blast the pad off your hand. And the majority of people that get into fighting and get to any level of competition, they've still got that. Yeah.
Imagine how out of control Masvidal would be if he was the champ. He would just be out of control.
He'd run the show. He'd branch off and do his own Triller type shows, I reckon. He could do that.
Yeah.
Masvidal could do that.
Yeah.
He really could. I'd like to see him box one of the Diaz brothers. I think that'd be really good to see. Because I think he'd be quite slick as a boxer as well. I mean, not nearly as polished as some of these Lifetime boxers, but certainly enough to make it very, very fun to watch.
Make it interesting, yeah. Right. Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you are.
I am, absolutely.
Yeah. Nice.
Cool. All right.
Done.
Nice one.
Easy.
Catch you next time. Unbound Merino,
X-Brain.
Full Reptile, of course.
Of course.
That's it. Cool.
See you
Catch you
next
next
week.
time.